Welcome to Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
I'm Caleb J.
And Caleb, this is your 10th Oscar Sunday episode, my friend. You've done some pretty big time movies here. Toy Story, Skyfall, Rosemary's Baby, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Jaws, Silence of the Lambs, not bad. Toy Story 2, Get Out. Here we're doing Roger Rabbit today, and you were also on a unique episode, an episode that came on actual Oscar Sunday. So number 10 here, doing Roger Rabbit. Let's go ahead and just talk about this movie. And where did you guys first see it? We'll start with you, Caleb. This 1988 classic.
This might be blasphemous to some, but I didn't see it until I was in college.
Totally fair.
Shut up, Connor. Whatever, For whatever reason, it was just not a movie in my parents' collection. They never really watched it, so I never saw it growing up. I was aware of it as I got older, and it was, when I went to college, it was at the time. It's crazy to think when I went to college at that time it was Netflix, Hulu, and Prime, and that was like all I can really remember. So it was on one of those three to stream, and I streamed it and instantly fell in love. I remember even texting my parents, being like, "Why did you never put this on when I was a kid? This movie is wonderful.
Yeah,
this is a great movie."
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. It definitely can, I'm sure, impact children in a serious way. But then obviously the humor is like for adults, so it's two birds with one stone there.
Yeah, I forgot. Sorry, when I was watching it this past time for the episode, I was like, "Wow, there's a lot of adult jokes in this that I forgot." And It's PG. What the hell?
Oh, so good, Connor. I know you've been with this movie since you were probably like out the womb, so let's hear it.
Yeah, if anybody has been following these shows, they know how sacred Robert Zemeckis and his catalog is to me in my development as a film buff. Right next to Back to the Future was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, this delightful Disney Warner Brothers hybrid, like one of the few times ever where two competing studios like work together like that. I love that. But it's also a very compelling film noir with murder and lust and revenge. And it is weird that this is PG considering all the death. And this, was when there was a PG-13 rating. So it's weird that they went, you got Mickey Mouse and murder happening at the same time.
Yeah.
But it stayed with me because it's such a fun movie. There's so many little Easter eggs. It's such a really cool story. And the animation is amazing. The way this film is made is so cool and still looks seamless. And at the time, imagine this must have blown people away. So I've loved this film my entire life. I'm so excited to do this today.
Yeah, you hit a few things there that are like really important for why we're doing it on Oscar Sunday. It was up for 6 Oscars, and it won 3 at the 61st Academy Awards. It also won a Special Achievement Award for the animation direction and creation of the cartoon characters, because it's just seamless the way they're like shaking hands. You got Bob Haskins and Roger Rabbit like shaking hands, and it's really crazy how well they managed to pull all this off. And yeah, the noir stuff is cool. It's a cool touch. The humor is great. And you have a villain who's like Noah Cross from Chinatown, like in the middle of it, this evil guy who wants to run Los Angeles. And like, I love that. This time around, I just became obsessed with Christopher Lloyd's performance as Judge Doom. I was like, this is like a great, great villain, a really well-written villain. And obviously Christopher Lloyd is the man who, makes Back to the Future like so special. So like, man, just great stuff. And Zemeckis, I know, Connor, you've been kind of waiting for this for a while. So this is only the second Zemeckis film we've ever done on any of our shows, and we're like 500 episodes in if you combine everything.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy that we've kind of pumped the brakes. We've only done Back to the Future and this now.
It's funny that you mentioned that Judge Doom reminds you of Noah Cross because the Cloverleaf stuff came out of an unproduced third Chinatown film that was never made.
I didn't
So
know that.
that's not an accident. That really, like, there's a Chinatown vibe to this movie because of that. And I just love that.
I didn't know that. That's cool as shit. Yeah, the whole time I was watching this time around, it had been years for me since I'd seen this. I want to say I saw it for the first time at like around 11 or 12, and I liked it. I thought it was fun. It's got a good pace to it. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes, and you're never really bored. And then you have, at one point, you have two of the most famous ducks to ever live, like playing piano next to each other. So like as a kid, you're like, this is great. These are like characters that I'm really familiar with. And you have Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse flying through the air together. So all that works. But as an adult now watching it, I just was like, this is, I like it better now. I didn't really know what to rate it. Like when I got Letterboxd, I hadn't seen it in so long. So I gave it like 3.5 stars, like a 7. And now watching it, I give it a 9 out of 10. Like this is a great movie. So super excited to talk about it, give it some awards. But I do think Robert Zemeckis is a guy that's worth like our time. He's a dude who's just churned out some amazing movies. He's got a Best Picture winner under his belt with Forrest Gump. He won Best Director for that as well. He was nominated for screenplay for Back to the Future. So, his films are kind of in the conscience of Hollywood for sure. So I want to do, since we have all three of us, I want to do a Zemeckis draft. If you guys are down, if you guys are prepared for another draft, we haven't done one of these since we did what, Jaws?
Yeah, Spielberg draft. Yeah, that was our last one.
Spielberg draft was the last one. So all right. So you guys are prepared for that. I'll give the draft order here soon. But before we do that, I do want to hear what you guys have been getting into aside from Roger Rabbit. What else have you guys been watching? Let's see. You guys had the Endless Love episode just come out on Friday for Beyond the Bad. Talk about doing two polar opposite 80s movies.
That's for damn sure. Why don't you take this one, Caleb?
Oh, God, I thought I was putting that behind me.
No. I wasn't on that episode, so I need to hear a few thoughts.
God, so we talked about quite a bit on the episode, and like obviously you guys know me, dramas are not like my go-tos. Not that I'm opposed to the genre or anything. There are plenty I enjoy. At the end of the day, I just like a good film with good storytelling, right? But especially romantic drama. So that was already kind of against it. I'm not a romantic drama. Like I don't like Notebook, there's all that. No. But watching one that even like people who love that kind of stuff are like, this sucks, to not fill me with joy. And when I went in to go watch it, but I sat there with some of the worst people that I had to watch for almost 2 hours. It is, I think, 5 minutes short of 2 hours.
Christ.
Yes, and some of the worst people, infuriating decisions, like a high school storyline. We kind of talked about a bit of where at one point he gets so not to see her for 30 days. And the kid just fucks it all up, of course, because he's a fucking teenager. That's the only thing in his dick, not his head. Well, not the right head. But I get tired of those storylines as I get older. I'm like, God, stop letting that ruin whatever is going on in your life. Like, stop it. But it's just one horrendous decision made by every single character throughout the movie. And I think about maybe 30 minutes in, I just went like, fuck this movie, and checked the time, so saw how much I had left, and I was like, oh God.
I must say though, like that ended up being one of my favorite episodes we've ever done because of what we were able to unpack with that movie and also just rip it to shreds. Like we were not, I mean, like if Franco Zeffirelli wasn't dead, he'd come after us.
Yeah. I will say, yeah, it was a great episode. And I told Connor, I was like, I had a lot of issues coming up with like the plot line and some other like stuff I do every week. So I'm like, what am I using for this damn movie? Even my question I do every week, I'm like, what the fuck do I ask based off this really shitty romantic drama? So I went with something I thought was decent, and ended up actually being probably one of the better questions that led to a real good conversation. So somehow, like in a weird way, like that really bad movie that's not, in my comfort zone per se, really out of my comfort zone, probably was one of the best episodes we've done, and really dug up some shit that made me go, oh, this is why the film stayed in the 80s.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that was episode 30, so that's pretty cool. You guys both feel like it was a good episode.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
with this show, I've noticed like the worse the movie is, the more we have to go through, and I've enjoyed that journey. It's fun to watch horrific movies, knowing that you're about to just tear them apart.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, you're not just doing it for the hell of it. You know, you're like,
it's like I get
going,
to do it's like I get to do a weekly roast with one of my best friends. It's the best.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, Caleb, aside from what sounds like a shit show, what else have you been watching?
Well, luckily, much better stuff.
Good. Yeah, I would hope.
The season 3 premiere of Harley Quinn came on Thursday. So I watched. I think they dropped the first 3 episodes. I watched that. Great fucking start. One of the best Batman references. I texted Connor. They make a really solid Batman reference of something that I've been tired of seeing, like every even tangentially related Batman property. Joker, looking at you. But this one did it in a real funny way that made me go, oh, okay, that was good. So real good start. Can't wait to see the rest of the season on that one. I've been today alone. I've played so much Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I finally had some time, so I've been just digging deep into that. I because they announced the X-Men 97, just on a whim, I booted up the 90s X-Men cartoon on Disney Plus, and yeah, it's definitely 90s, but it's actually kind of entertaining. I'm definitely enjoying it, so I'll probably try to get through that whole thing in time for the new sequel series we're doing, and I'm really looking forward to watching Predator. I know we're recording on Saturday, so tomorrow when this episode airs, I cannot wait to dig in my newly purchased 4K of Predator and see how that bad boy looks on the highest possible definition.
Nice. That's fucking cool. Oh yeah. Connor, what have you been watching, man?
Well, I also watched the Harley Quinn premiere. I watched the first 2 episodes. I didn't watch 3. I still have to watch that one, but it is hilarious. And Endless Love got me thinking about another movie that had a very similar premise that I had never seen but had access to, and that is 1996's Fear. Mark Wahlberg, like his first high-profile gig, and I got to say, well done. Like that was a decent flick, freaky, way too real. And he was terrifying. He was just the perfect amount of sadistic, psycho asshole. And I just thought he was, terrifying. It was a really, really decent flick. William Peterson was the dad. Reese Witherspoon was his girlfriend. And it was just really good. I'm surprised it had such low review ratings these days. But I dug that. I was right, Caleb. It is like the exact same plot as Endless Love. Just he's actually crazy and people acknowledge it.
Oh, so it's a better movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's what that should have been in a realistic situation.
That's who's that directed by?
Foley, James Foley.
Foley. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Foley's got a wacky career. Yeah.
Also, please tell me that they were all, of age, 18 and older in that movie.
No, she's like 16 and he's like 25.
Talking about actors.
Oh, the actors, yes. The characters, no.
Yeah. I'll take actors over characters, whatever.
Well, there weren't any super aggressive, actual fully naked sex scenes. It was just, simulated under the sheets, like they could easily act with their clothes on, scenes.
Good.
There's no creep off screen going get naked and show me your ass. Like that didn't happen.
Pinching her toes.
Yeah, no. In addition to that, I also watched a Western from 1966 called The Professionals, which I had very high hopes for. It was it's Burt Lancaster and Lee Marvin and Claudia Cardinale from Once Upon a Time in the West. So I had high expectations.
Oh God, what a cast!
That one's on Netflix if you want to watch it, and it wasn't bad. It was just a little dull, and the villain is a Mexican bandit played by Jack Palance in a big
Classic.
black mustache, and I was like, no. So that's going in my thesis. And
there you go.
yeah, but Bert and Lee together was just really good. A lot of this dialogue is kind of like just pithy sayings and like Old West shit. There's not a lot of like everyone's kind of fully developed when the film starts. There's not really anywhere to go. I gave it a 7 because I did enjoy it for the most part, but I wanted more.
Yeah, that happens. Classic Hollywood shit. Casting Palance as someone he shouldn't be playing.
Yeah, I was like, are you kidding me? Of all people, Jack Palance, really?
Yeah,
and Carl Grisham as a bandito,
and he's great. I love that guy, but like, come on, just fucking silly. So my question about Fear would be: is that like an interesting double feature with Boogie Nights to watch a little Marky Mark 96, 97?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the beginnings of Mark Wahlberg's film career, and you don't have one without the other. I think like you don't have Boogie Nights if he didn't do Fear, and yeah, I think that's a great double feature. Pretty long, but yeah, good.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's okay. I'm fine with that. Now, why has Mark not done more interesting stuff like that? Now he's just like, I got to be the good guy. I got to be fucking, guy from Boston with a chip on his shoulder, like maybe a cop, maybe like what? Why doesn't he do more? Yeah, I know it's money, but like do one for you, one for me. Come on, man. I wish he did more stuff like with interesting characters.
There's money, but also he recently found God in a big way, so that's also been influencing his career big time. So I think safe bets and religion combined to kind of take all the fun out of Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he's not going to play Eddie Adams from Torrance anymore. That's not happening.
Yeah.
He's condemned Boogie Nights in recent years. Said like I never should have done that movie, which is bullshit.
I want to point out he's saying that, but keep in mind his past before he was famous. The guy did a lot of racist hate crimes in his youth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, dude, there's no amount of hiding behind Jesus that's going to take away what you did to some kids in your youth.
Yeah.
Like, you still got to answer for that one day there, bud. And you doing a Jesus movie recently that Father Stu isn't going to help. Committing Boogie Nights. I am looking forward. It's not a part of what I've been doing this week, so it comes on actually as we're recording tonight. But they brought back a new season of Are You Afraid of the Dark? They've been doing a revival series. I don't know if you guys remember that on Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They've been doing a revival series, and the new season just came on tonight. So I'll definitely be watching that this weekend because I have definitely been supporting the return of Are You Afraid of the Dark.
Yeah, I might check that out too. That's a good call. Good shout out. I'm having like flashbacks to my youth of watching that now. That's cool. Good shit. I've personally been on like just an 80s fucking tangent this past few days. Of course, after we recorded last week, the next day I went and saw Nope. Fucking loved it. Thought it was great. God, I just have been thinking about it ever since. I want to go see it again. I feel like it rejuvenated my like desire to go to the theater, which is really cool heading into the fall where we got a lot of interesting stuff coming out. And I found myself at times like with that movie in the theater looking at different parts of the screen, like my head was turning, you know what I mean? You're like looking at the different clouds, and I was just like, I love this feeling. I love this fucking feeling of like an adventure, a wild sci-fi horror movie. So that was great. I'm really glad I got to see that. And then after that, I got home and I watched Allied, 2016 Robert Zemeckis film, because I wanted to watch more Zemeckis this week because I haven't seen all of them. So I was trying to knock out some that I hadn't seen. I liked that one. That was fine. It may show up in my draft if it goes a certain way, but we'll see. I thought Brad Pitt was great, and I don't regret watching it, but I'm probably not going to watch it again. It's one of those. And then my 80s run started. I watched Walker from 1987, one of my favorite Ed Harris performances right away. It's an Alex Cox movie about William Walker, who was the president of Nicaragua for a couple of years in the 50s. Fascinating stuff. Didn't really know much about that story, so that was neat. It was like really out there. It makes me want to watch more Alex Cox movies. Then I watched Romancing the Stone, another Zemeckis film, 1984. I liked that one. Thought it was decent. I liked the two leads together. Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. Thought they were good. It's a good little adventure. And yeah, another Zemeckis to knock off the list. And then I watched three movies from 1988. Of course, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Awesome movie. Can't wait to talk about it more. Give it some awards later. Then I watched Working Girl, which was up for Best Picture that year. Mike Nichols movie. I was a little underwhelmed by that one because I was like, holy shit, Harrison Ford, 1988. Hell yeah. The guy looks amazing. Sigourney Weaver's in it as well, and Melanie Griffith. There's some funny moments, but overall I thought the tone was just it didn't make much sense to me, and I was a little let down. But it's fine. It's worth watching. And then I watched Mississippi Burning, which, Christ Almighty, that's a movie right there. Also up for Best Picture, 1988. So I rewatched that one. I saw it not that long ago, and I want to just check it out again because I like watching stuff from the year we're going to be talking about. I mean, it's an Alan Parker movie. The guy's British and like to tell, true stories from different parts of the world. And Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe, Frances McDormand, they're all unbelievable in this movie. At times, I do think it's a bit tone deaf. It's got its issues with the way it represents black people in the movie. I think is just a little kind of like a little whitewashed, I'll say. They're like, let's just focus on Hackman, Dafoe, and McDormand rather than the issue really at hand. But performances are amazing, and there are some amazing scenes in that movie. So it's been a good week, man. Connor knows me. The 80s are a decade I want to watch more of. So I used this time wisely and knocked out 5 movies from the 80s this past week. So been great. But the best thing that I saw this past week was definitely Nope. And then this new episode of Better Call Saul that was last Monday. Jesus Christ. I don't even know what to say anymore about what Vince Gilligan has created. I'm just one of those people who might just have my blinders on and I don't know what's going on. And it's like all hail Vince Gilligan when those that show is going on and in my house watching, the lights off. I'm just totally blown away by what he's been able to do over the past now 14 years with this story in Albuquerque. So absolutely loving the direction that this season's going. There's only 3 episodes left. So I'm super excited for tomorrow night to watch the new one. It's the most excited I've been about a TV show since probably Breaking Bad. So it's a good feeling. And I'm super amped about that because that episode, and if you're a big fan of Saul, it was all about Gene in Omaha. And there's just some amazing scenes. It was filmed all in black and white. Just a really, really strong episode, and continues to show me why I'm so excited every Monday to get home and watch that. But yeah, that's what I've been up to, and sounds like we're kind of all over the board, which I love. Robert Zemeckis is a guy who's all over the board, my friends. His career is really fascinating. Connor, before we started recording, you mentioned how there's this clear divide from probably, I think you could probably say that Castaway is like the bridge. He's working, of course, with Tom Hanks in that movie, but there's a clear change in kind of tone for him as the 90s pass and the 2000s go forward, and especially in the 2010s. Just a really fascinating director. And at this point, he's 70 years old, and we don't know how much longer he's going to be working and showing us his work. He has Pinocchio coming out, I believe, later this year or next year, and we don't know how much more we're going to get from him. So I feel like he's deserving of getting kind of a draft and undivided attention.
Yeah, he's a guy who's just been kind of telling his own stories his whole career, which I really appreciate. He's definitely got a tone to his films that shifted. I think after Forrest Gump is really when it kind of.
Yeah. Castaway's like, oh, okay, this is not Death Becomes Her. Yeah.
Stuff starts getting a little bit more serious. And then he's got that animation, like weird CGI, Uncanny Valley animation era. And then a series of bizarre biopics. And now he's doing like remakes. So it's weird. There's like 5 or 6 different stages to Robert Zemeckis, and mine is my favorite's the '80s run. To me, like nothing beats that.
I'm kind of with Connor. I didn't realize I was looking up like his run directed stuff and what I've seen. And I was like, wow, most of what I've seen has been like his '80s more fun stuff. And then a couple of his newer things. I have actually seen all of his like his CG era stuff. And then I guess as far as series, I've seen Flight, which is really good.
Flight. I love Flight.
Flight was really good. I do have a wonder. Have you guys seen the trailer for Del Toro's Pinocchio coming out this year?
I forgot to watch that. No, I have not.
I was like,
I haven't either.
Oh, my lads, watch
Well,
that
wait.
wonderful teaser.
Wait, so there's a Zemeckis Pinocchio film
Yep,
and a Del Toro?
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
Yep.
He's remaking Disney's Pinocchio, and then Del Toro's doing his own Pinocchio.
Why? Why do we have both of these?
Honestly, look, I've seen the teaser for Del Toro's Pinocchio. It does look really good. It's clay. It's animated with like claymation or whatever. Like the Laika, however you say their name. Entertainment. The guys who did Coraline and Paranormal stuff.
It's like stop motion type. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like that. It has a stellar voice cast. Ewan McGregor off the bat. I'm in already. So it looks really good, and I'm assuming Zemeckis is a remake of the Disney film.
Yeah.
Okay, then Del Toro wins. I'm seeing his before I watch a fucking live action remake of Disney.
The only reason I would watch it is because it's Zemeckis, to just be like, yeah, I want to watch another Zemeckis movie, and it's got Hanks and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But like, I don't need to see that at all. I'll probably wait till I'm so bored that I'm like, all right, yeah, let's watch Pinocchio live action.
I just like, I know I've talked about it before. I'm so tired of them live action. They're damn cartoons, but they're telling the same exact story, or they take out all the songs or remix them. They wouldn't put the ones we want in there. Like, I think so it's like, no, I'll just watch the cartoon that still holds up, still has great song. Well, holds up in most cases, still has great songs, and call it a day. And then Del Toro is giving me Pinocchio, but his version, his story of it, not even based off that. So yeah, I'll definitely watch Del Toro's before I watch Zemeckis. No offense to Zemeckis, but I'm just watching Del Toro's first.
I doubt it's, with Zemeckis, like his last film was a remake of The Witches. So he's not exactly, his heart's not really in these projects. I don't think so. It seems like a work for hire situation. So Pinocchio, I doubt will feel like a Zemeckis. It's going to feel like more of Disney's conveyor belt bullshit.
And he's just sitting in the chair like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I could probably direct a remake of Pinocchio because the people who's actually calling the shots here are the producer suits sitting behind me.
What a shame. What a shame. And that Welcome to Marwen movie just got totally fucking annihilated when it came out from 2018. That movie starring Steve Carell. And I just didn't watch it because of how bad the backlash was. So yeah, he's on a 3-film run here. Like, what are we doing? And the question could be, before we get to drafting, the question could be, does this affect his legacy? Do you count it against him as a filmmaker? Obviously, he's given us so much great stuff. But like, imagine, the run, a guy that we all love, like a Quentin Tarantino. Mm-hmm. Imagine if he did this. Like, would we be like, fuck you, dude? Like, what are you doing? You're going way out of your wheelhouse to do something for what? It's frustrating. It's hard to kind of like figure out how to count it.
Do you want to tackle that question first, Connor, or me?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Well, first off, I don't think he owes us a goddamn thing. I think Robert Zemeckis is, he made his masterpieces. He won his Oscar. I think he's just, he's good. And I'm grateful for what I got. So whatever I get from now on is just gravy. If it's great, awesome. If not, it's no skin off my ass.
Okay. Caleb, how do you see it?
I'm honestly, I pretty much back Connor on this one. I don't think it tarnishes his legacy. I think it's just unfortunately whenever he leaves this world, right? Unfortunately, his last couple of films go out with a whimper, right? But like Connor's saying, like he's made his impact already. He's made his legacy on cinema, and I don't think even with these films, that's going to take away what he's done. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
for example, two examples I have. One Oscar-worthy one, probably not so much, going back to some of my horror roots. But on the bigger one, like James Cameron, right? I've been very known since Titanic onward. I just don't think his films are that strong. But I don't take away what he's done already for things like
No,
Aliens and Terminator 1 and 2. And like his place in cinema and the legacy he created with those is still there. And then, dare I say someone like, for me, Rob Zombie, right?
Yeah.
I think he's struggled a lot in recent years. So a lot of times studio meddling's been like the case with a lot of his films. But at the same time, in the world of horror, he's given us House of Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. And Devil's Rejects is considered one of the most modern classic horrors of all time. Like, everyone knows what that movie is. So like, regardless of what he's done now, he still made his impact. He made his legacy. He put his stamp in there, and that's not going away. So I mean, obviously, I'd love for all these directors to be like Tarantino or someone that just have a string of hit after hit after hit. But unfortunately, that's not the case, and I'll take what they have given us.
Yeah,
yeah.
Applying that to like actors, like for Robert De Niro, does Little Fockers erase Taxi Driver?
No, but it happened.
It did happen, and he's got to live with that.
But yeah, and we do too. We do too. Like that's why I hold Daniel Day-Lewis to such a high standard, because he didn't do that. Never once did he even think about that. He never once was like, I'm going to take a paycheck gig. I'm just going to do this because this is my job. He was like, no, I'm going to create art. I'm going to do the best I can with what I'm given and leave the rest, and like he wouldn't appear in a movie for 4 years because he's like, nothing is interesting enough to me to like go out there and do. I think there's like, for me, there's value to that. And I think like, would you rather have high volume 20 to 30 movies made, or would you rather have lower volume Tarantino, Paul Thomas Anderson, David Fincher, 9, 10, 11 movies that all slap and hit hard and mean a lot to our culture? I understand both sides. And I've always preferred the guy who's got a better batting average. And that doesn't mean that I think like David Fincher's peak is higher than Zemeckis' peak. Like, I don't think there's an art, like, I think, of course, like for me, like Zodiac is the better movie than Back to the Future, but that's just my opinion. I don't think that Back to the Future is like his peak is his peak. He's amazing. Like Back to the Future is so important to our culture and so massive for 80s Hollywood and what comes after it. Same with Roger Rabbit. But I would rather not have the Welcome to Marwins and the Witches and those on the back end. I'd rather him just stop.
I get that. I understand, enjoying a small quantity of really good films from a filmmaker. But I also think it's a little unfair to compare these filmmakers like this, because they're not all in it for the same reasons. They're not all in it. Art is what they consider masterpiece is very different. Like what Zemeckis considers a success, I'm sure is vastly different from what Paul Thomas Anderson considers a success.
Correct.
And they've all got different reasons for being here. Sometimes you got to take a work for hire to pay for that new car.
Yeah.
And
like what Ethan Hawke recently, the headlines, of course, try to misconstrue what he was actually saying. But, Ethan Hawke was saying, like, when he did Moon Knight, he needed to put food, he acts. He was talking about, he goes, I act, it's my job. It's what puts a roof over my head, food on the table, my bills paid. So, like, I definitely get where you're coming from. And, like, some absolute respect to the ones that do turn out a small quantity, but they're just hitting every single time. But at the same time, I understand some of these actors or directors are like, hey, this is a job. It pays the bills. We got to.
Correct.
We got to do something. So sometimes I get it. And like I said, sometimes like in the case of Rob Zombie, like if you look at like a lot of the ones that don't hit, a lot of it has to do with the studio stepping in, not funding his stuff. Like just insane things happening that have constantly, the whole shitstorm that's been happening with the Munsters and him setting the record straight on like, this was meant to go. He hasn't gotten the backup from the studio for a while. So it's like every situation is different with every person,
Well,
yeah,
also,
for sure.
Out of pure selfishness, if we don't get the occasional Welcome to Marwen, then Caleb doesn't have a show. Like, there's a place for shit films, and sometimes if every movie was a masterpiece, no movie's a masterpiece.
Correct. Yeah, I totally agree with what you guys are saying, and I think you guys understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
As far as legacy goes, for me, I do count it against him. I do think like Zemeckis. If I'm adding up an average of all of his movies, if you take away the past 5 or 6, the average would be way higher than what it is with those. That's fine. Like you said, he's got to pay the bills. He's got to do his job. I just wish the job was a little bit better, or like Caleb said, maybe I wish the studios maybe gave him more freedom, or I don't know what every movie is different. Movies are a good movie is hard to make.
Also with Zemeckis, especially he peaked so early. His 80s are so loaded with amazing films, and then he wins Best Director in the 90s, wins a Best Picture for Forrest Gump. It's like, where do you go from there?
Yeah,
I wonder if he's looking for something to kind of capture that magic again, because he hasn't had anything since that's gotten to that point.
Yeah,
so I wonder if he's just in search of a new vision.
This is why Steven Spielberg is the fucking man. He's still from after Jaws, he could have been like, I don't know what to do. Instead, he's like 20 years later, he's like, no, I just made another one of the best creature features adventure movies to ever exist. I'm the man. You're right though. Zemeckis, he was in his, he was born in 1951, so he's in his 30s during that Back to the Future run. That Used Cars, Back to the Future, Roger Rabbit, and then he's 43 years old when he wins Best Director. Like, that's young.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I think he's a fascinating guy. Is my main point, is that he's a fascinating filmmaker, and I do want to give him some props. Let's pick some movies that we like. That we can talk about here for a little bit before we dig really deep into Roger Rabbit and the 61st Academy Awards. When we did the Jaws draft, the order was Caleb, Connor, and then myself. That's what the order is again, my friends. I randomized it. There's only 3 of us, so there's only so many options, but that's what it is again. So it is gonna be a snake draft again, and you guys, Connor texted me earlier today and was like, all right, what is that? What's the point? Because I think last time I threw that was like a curveball to you guys. And that's because I'm a huge sports fan, and sports drafts are always snake draft. And I've kind of brought that sports passion of mine over to this podcast. And it's a way for it to be more fair to the person who gets the last pick and vice versa. So, for example, Caleb, you'll go first. Connor, you'll go second. I'll go third. And then I will go again, 4th. Connor 5th. Caleb 6th. Because if we went straight draft, Caleb would get the 1st pick and the 4th pick. And that's like, well, he gets to kind of, have his cake and eat it too, all that jazz. So it just makes more sense to do a snake draft for like, especially for like, I believe there's 21 films here that we have to choose from. Yes, 21. So 20, not, take away Pinocchio, just 20. So there's not a ton to choose from, and we all need to kind of like be able to get some shit we like. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. But Caleb, you have the first pick, my friend, and you can select whenever you feel like it.
All right. I don't think I'm messing with Connor's plan here, because I'm actually going to go with Forrest Gump for my first pick.
Oh, interesting.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked.
What? Why is that? Let me explain.
No, I just didn't think it'd be the first pick. I knew it was going to go sort of early, but I didn't think it'd be the first pick. So explain your passion for Forrest Gump.
So this may have been like one of my first Zemeckis films. I was very late to Back to the Future, very late to Your Friend Roger Rabbit, as we talked about. So this is one of my early ones I saw of his. And I know it's been getting like some more recent kind of like backlash from people for being too like was it like saccharine and all that stuff. But with that said, I still really like it. I find it to be a really good film. One of Tom Hanks's better performances, in my opinion. Just so many iconic like lines that have lasted from that film. The life is like a box of chocolates. It's just like, yeah, you could argue it's too feel good, but God damn, if that movie just make me feel good when I watch it. Minus the fact that he does not need to be with Cheney. She is terrible to him. As I've gotten older, I'm like, God, Forrest, dude, she's terrible to you.
Real piece of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But with that said, I do really like it. I do enjoy watching this film and have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, Forrest Gump.
That's great, dude. Forrest Gump's a great movie. It really is. It's a wonderful movie. It makes me cry. It makes me laugh. It's delightful. When I compare it to what it was up against for Best Picture, that's when there's a conversation. But as a movie of its own, it's wonderful. It's a great movie.
Yeah, that being Pulp Fiction and Shawshank fucking Redemption.
Yeah,
tough.
You tell me those two movies?
Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. Not just beat it, but like ran that ceremony, like dominated that ceremony.
Shawshank got nothing. Pulp got screenplay, and Gump won like 7.
Okay, now I understand. At first I was like, am I the only one? It seems like a lot of people come out to Forrest Gump now, but okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Great. It's a great film, but compared to those two, fuck me.
Yeah, it's it's a tough beat. No, Forrest Gump is good, and it is like it's a kind of at this point, an American staple. I'd say, you got the Bubba Gumps all over the goddamn country, and people just really respond to this movie.
Get you, Bubba.
Yeah, I've never been like a huge fan of this one, but probably because I knew going into watching it, like the first or second time I saw it, going into it, I knew it beat my beloved Pulp Fiction and Shawshank. So like that's my fault. That's my fault for holding a grudge against it. But it, like Connor said, on its own, it's a pretty good movie. Pretty rewatchable, pretty fun, can make you cry. And Tom Hanks is, he's just in the 90s, Tom Hanks was the king. So
when he hands Lieutenant Dan the damn ice cream, I got ice cream for you, Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is. How does your heart not break?
I still do that like when supposedly Elvis is at their house, right? I still do that weird dance that he does with his legs, the little child Forrest Gump. I still do that, like, if nobody's watching, I'm like, I'm gonna do that dance, I think I've always thought that part's really funny. And that's his mom is Sally Field, right? Yeah. So I do like that whole bit. Connor, you got the second pick, and I know what you're doing.
Mine. Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Need I say more? I mean, we've done an entire episode on how much I worship the ground this film walks on. It's my all-time favorite. Nothing's ever going to change that. And there you go. Listen to episode, I think it was 25 or 20.
No, 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen to episode 20 to hear me just rant and rave. It's my favorite movie ever.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the episode where we started doing awards for the movies. I think.
I think we started doing that with Hamlet.
Oh, you're right. Hamlet was like 16 or 17. Yeah. You're right.
I wish it had been any other movie that we started doing that, but
you should have just ran with it so we could be like, yeah, Back to the Future was the first one.
I can't. They can fact check that shit. I'm sorry.
100 episodes ago, almost. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I'll never forget doing that episode. I came to I came to y'all's house. Yeah, we we recorded that in person because it was a special moment to talk about that film. And it's the kind of movie that we could redo. It's got so much going for it. It's one of the staples of the 80s. And yeah, Connor, I've always respected it even more because I know how much you care about it. And I really want to go see this in theaters with you. I think that'd be such a cool experience.
I've seen it in theaters 3 separate times. It's playing at Draft House randomly. So next time they have one, I will drag you to it myself.
Yeah, just kidnap me. Yeah. Oh man. Well, okay. So I thought when I saw Caleb with the first pick, I was like, okay, he's gonna be nice. He's gonna give Connor Back to the Future. Caleb, I thought you were gonna take Roger Rabbit, so I will take Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah.
And my plan is disrupted.
Yeah. This is my second favorite Zemeckis film behind Back to the Future. They're both pretty much right next to each other, though. Christ Almighty, it it made me rethink kind of like my 1988 like pantheon of movies. So I was like, okay, is Roger Rabbit like in my top 3 or 4 favorite movies from that year? So this is cool to have an episode and you feel that type of way about the film. So I'll take that and I'll go fast forward. Let's see, to 2012. I'll take Flight.
Take Flight.
Love this movie. Yeah, Take Flight. One of my favorite Denzel performances for sure. He's just putting on a clinic in that movie. When I saw it, I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it shortly after me and my dad watched it, and we were like wondering who directed it, And I was like, Robert Zemeckis? Like, are you fucking kidding me? The last movie he does before this is A Christmas Carol, and then he does Flight, and this is an adult movie, I'll say, and it was up for some Oscars and whatnot. So it's a movie that we will have kind of in the spotlight at some point through an episode, whether we talk about Denzel or 2012 or obviously right here Zemeckis. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take that. That's kind of my favorite of the newer Zemeckis films. So I'll take an 80s and I'll take a newer one. And back to you, Connor.
I am going to take Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, that was the other one I was thinking about. Great.
My upbringing involved 5 specific Zemeckis films, and it was the 3 Back to the Futures, Roger Rabbit, and Death Becomes Her. This is such an odd movie, and even more odd that you consider like Meryl Streep took time out of her, being an icon to play a bad actress, and her going up against Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis. It's such a fun little movie. It's my favorite Bruce Willis performance ever, and it's just the story of vain assholes trying to live forever and the consequences therein. It's it's a great LA movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, just such a fun movie. I can't wait to talk about it on one of our shows. It won visual effects, so we can do it here, but it really does have a Filmgazm vibe. So it might go there. You never know. But one of my all-time favorites, and
yeah, complete genre bender, like fantasy, horror, comedy. Yeah, so I think that's perfect for Filmgazm.
Yeah.
Good pick. Caleb, you got 2 in a row. So you can kind of, you got a lay of the land here. 5 films have been taken. Now you can kind of play your draft here.
You know what? My next 2 picks, I'm gonna go and say both of them because they kind of are the same type of film. They're his Christmas animated films, The Polar Express and A Christmas Carol.
Hell yeah.
You are not awesome. Taking the avenue I expected you to take at all.
Neither. Yeah. This is great.
I love how I'm just like trumping you guys right now. So full disclosure, I absolutely adore Christmas specials with a passion outside of horror films.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How am I just now finding out about this?
I don't talk about it a lot, all right? I grew up, and every year, obviously outside of things like, A Christmas Story, I grew up watching, Charlie Brown Christmas, and then also the Rake and Bass stuff like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman. My mom loved that stuff, so I grew up watching it, and I really love it too. The Year Without Santa Claus is like one of my all-time favorite Christmas specials of all time. I fucking adore that movie, and all the music in it is wonderful. Christmas on the 4th of July, whatever it is, where they have to look for New Year's like baby or something like that. I forget the whole plot, but it's a favorite of mine. I have to relook it up, but I love it to death. I think that is such a lovely era of filmmaking that is gone now, and I wish it would come back. And seeing Zemeckis put his kind of own stamp on it, and yeah, you could argue the uncanny. I know it gets a little weird sometimes with his animation style, but like I've always adored The Polar Express. I think it's a great Christmas film. I'd love to watch it every year. And with Christmas Carol, it's one of my favorite takes actually on the story. As we all know, it's been adapted God knows how many times. It's like up there with Dracula and Frankenstein stuff, just adapted constantly. And whereas I really found that goddamn George C. Scott one that my mom loved to death so boring as a kid. As a kid, I need to watch it as an adult, but as a kid, it bored the shit out of me. I remember when we decided to watch this one year, and I'm thinking, oh, Jim Carrey, because I'm like, I fucking love Jim Carrey. And watching this one, I liked it. I like that it, obviously it doesn't change much from story, but even for a kid's film, he goes there at times, like when it gets to like the ghost of, Christmas, the future ghost. And it gets horror out of nowhere in that scene, and it gets terrifying. And I really like what he does with it. And yeah, these are two I enjoy watching every year for Christmas.
Interesting. That's such a interesting fact. I imagine you like with the fire going, and you're making like s'mores, and you have your Michael Myers mask on, watching A Christmas Carol. I fucking love this shit.
Look, don't get me wrong. Like I watch, Black Christmas, Silent Night, Deadly Night every year, but then I'm like, okay, let me put on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I'm imagining. That's amazing. Connor, you had no idea about this, huh?
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know you love Christmas movies so much, man. Yeah, that's great. I love that. He is human after all.
Wow.
Oh Jesus, that is fucking great. Which one do you like? Which one do you like more, Caleb? Polar Express or A Christmas Carol? Like, which one's better to you?
Polar Express. I've
Yeah.
been with it longer. I
Yeah.
love it so much.
Well, yeah, that came out when we were. How old? You're older than us, right?
Yeah, I'm 29.
29. So yeah, so you were 10 or yeah,
Around
10 or
10, 11. My birthday's in
Yeah.
December. It's December 16th. So like it's always
Okay.
when stuff gets released. It's like
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, and Connor and I we're both the same age. So yeah, we're Polar Express. When I saw it in theaters, I was like, fucking masterpiece. I was 9, but I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. And I've seen it on the big screen since then. Like maybe it was like right before COVID, like in 2019, and I was like, man, I love this movie. So yeah, I've always enjoyed the Polar Express. I was gonna save it for later, but goddamn, bad strategy on my part, apparently.
we have an outdoor movie screen that we put out at our property at my family's place, and we have a projector and we watch outdoor movies. Every Christmas we watch the Polar Express, and we do hot chocolate, and we just have a delightful night. I've been trying to get you and Brianna up to that for a while now.
We like that movie. Yeah.
It's such a delightful film. It's so Christmassy. It's so feel good. It's so joyous and wonderful. And honestly, the animation has never bothered me though. The eyes thing, I know they're not real. Like once you just accept I'm not watching real people, there is no problem.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm probably young enough. I haven't cared all these years, so
yeah. To me, it's a movie that just makes me think of my grandma. I haven't seen A Christmas Carol yet, but I plan to this Christmas.
It's really good in my opinion.
Yeah, so. You'll like it, Connor. I think you'll dig that one.
My favorite version of that story is still Scrooged. I don't think anything's topping that, but I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, Scrooged can't be topped. And that's a 1988 one as well. That just man, that movie's so fucking good. So yeah, I don't think you're gonna be like, oh yeah, this is better than Bill Murray. But
I like Jim Carrey. I like Zemeckis. I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Well, it's not only is it Jim Carrey, but Gary Oldman is voice in it. Colin Firth, Steve Valentine. Yeah, it's got a cool cast.
He gets a stellar cast for it. I'm just glad you guys now learned something about me today.
Yeah. I feel good right now.
Yeah, that's great.
That is wonderful. Well, all right. So Caleb has Forrest Gump, Polar Express, and A Christmas Carol. How just a jolly group of films there. Connor, your pick whenever you're ready.
Give me Back to the Future Part 2. I didn't think I was getting the sequels.
I didn't think you were gonna tackle more than one of these bad boys. I thought you would just kind of leave it alone. I was gonna leave it alone out of just like, let's get more titles out there.
I had intended to my plan didn't involve those because I figured one of you guys were like one or both of you were going to snake those. But since they're still on the table, I love those movies just as much. So
yeah. Well, fucking take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and part two is great. Part two is fantastic. So it's no slouch.
I won't say too much about part two, but I will say something I noticed upon a recent watch of it that I never noticed before. In the scene where Marty McFly goes to Biff Tannen's pleasure paradise for the first time and realizes Biff has taken over the town, and he's watching that little like video about Biff, there is a sign on the door that says "smoking required."
Awesome. Yeah, that's
Perfect.
great. To come in here, you gotta be puffing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's wonderful. Okay, so you guys both have 3 films. I have 2. So I'll be taking my last 2 picks here. Then we'll go back the other way. Okay, this is kind of tough now. For sure, I'm going to take what I think is the best movie available, which is Castaway from 2000. Really like that movie. I want Mr. Tom Hanks on my side, at least a little bit. Wilson, and all that jazz. The movie is quite long. It's like 2.5 hours, but it packs a punch, and it's some of the best Tom Hanks stuff for me because he's completely isolated and just kind of doing his own thing and kind of showing his range as a performer. Good story, got great cinematography and good direction from Zemeckis. So I do think that movie should be taken at some point. So I'll get it on my side. This last pick is hard. Admittedly, what's available that I've seen, I'm not like in love with. I really regret that I wasn't able to see Used Cars from 1980 before we did this draft because I feel like I'd love that movie. 1980, it's got Kurt Russell in it, Jack Warden. That's his second film after I Want to Hold Your Hand from 1978. So I really wanted to see that. It's just not really available on anything. I didn't feel like renting it. Connor, do you own that one?
I do own Used Cars. Yeah, I'll get that to you.
I'll watch it at some point. Yeah, it's a 1980 rated R movie starring Kurt Russell. That's really all I need to know. Fuck, I'm really. Should I just go ahead and tell you guys what I'm choosing between? There's 2 movies.
Yeah, go ahead.
1997's Contact and 1984's Romancing the Stone. I'm having a hard time here. Romancing the Stone, as Connor pointed out to me this past week while I was watching it. Without that one, we don't have Back to the Future. I think it's really important for his filmography. It showed what he had working with big, major talent like Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito is amazing in that movie. Contact is fucking weird and out there. Also has good performances. Doesn't feel like a Zemeckis film at all. I really hope one of you takes the other one if I don't. I'm going to go Romancing the Stone.
Okay.
God, it's tough though.
Do you ever plan on watching the sequel that Zemeckis did not helm?
To Romancing the Stone?
Yeah.
Who directed
I don't know who did it, but I know it's the same cast. It's called The Jewel of the Nile. And
yeah, I read about it. Yeah, I read about it, and I was like, I don't know. I didn't see who directed it though. That has a little bit to do with it because if it's someone I respect, I also like watching directors that I like. I also like watching their kind of movies that aren't as well received. So maybe one day.
Louis Teague.
Okay, doesn't ring any bells.
He's the guy who did Alligator.
Interesting.
Alligator.
Let's go. Yeah, maybe one day. I'm not gonna race to it, but maybe one day.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's my 4: Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Flight, Castaway, and Romancing the Stone. What the hell? Weird group.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen Contact, so I'm not taking Contact.
Whoa, really?
I was gonna watch it for this, but it wasn't streaming anywhere, and I didn't want to rent it.
Totally fair. That's how I felt about Used Cars. It's also very long. It's a very long movie. It is like exactly 2.5 hours. But you got Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey. There's some cool. John Hurt's in it. I do think you'd like some aspects of it. Pretty hardcore sci-fi.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Fun fact about Castaway that I always thought was really cool. So while they were filming Castaway, Zemeckis had to take a break because Tom Hanks had to lose a significant amount of weight. So it looked like he'd been on a deserted island for quite some time. So in that break, Zemeckis took his crew and made What Lies Beneath. And was
Okay,
just
yeah,
using his
yeah.
time wisely. And I was like, that's smart. Wait, well done, Rob.
I like that. I like a resourceful man. Now, I haven't seen What Lies Beneath, but I've heard it's not as good as Castaway.
Yeah, it's not. I watched it last night. It's all right. Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer are great, but it's pretty predictable and not really all that scary. I was hoping for more.
Fair enough. Okay, so I'm guessing you're not picking that.
Nope.
What? So are you're taking used cars, aren't you? You fucker.
I mean, I do have Back to the Future 3 out there, but do I want to diversify my portfolio here?
I mean, that would be kind of badass. You have the trilogy and Death Becomes Her. That's a fun group.
But isn't that predictable? Like, isn't that just like
Yeah, but
exactly what I would do?
Just a bit, but it's up to you. You do you, boo.
Jesus Christ.
Uh,
I don't know if I could live with myself if I didn't take Back to the Future 3 when I could. But also, like, used cars is fucking funny.
yeah.
I do really like used cars. Why? Why?
There's nothing else up for the running? No?
Beowulf's fun. The Walk was good, but like, did I need to see, like, did we need that story?
And did it need to be Zemeckis?
Yeah.
Like that could have been just any guy, I think.
Yeah. Allied, I thought was all right, and I haven't seen Marwen, The Witches, or I Want to Hold Your Hand. So
yeah, Allied does have some cool stuff going on. Yeah, but again, just like okay,
fuck it. I Am Who I Am. Back to the Future Part 3.
I love it.
Yeah. I got nothing to prove. I got no one to impress. These are my movies. I love them to death.
And you also get Death Becomes Her. So, that's fun. So, that's fun.
Yeah, there's my epilogue.
You basically have from 85 to 90.
92.
92. You skip it. The only one you skip is Roger Rabbit.
Well, I counted Amazing Stories in my list here, but because I guess he directed part of
that. Okay. Good call. Yeah. All right. Well, you have a kick-ass group. You can't really argue with it. Caleb, what are you gonna take that's gonna surprise the shit out of us now? Are you gonna go back and take fucking I Want to Hold Your Hand?
No, I'm going to take the last film standing that I've seen of all the ones we've talked about from Zemeckis that I need to rewatch. Remember, like Connor mentioned, I had a fun time with it when I first saw it. That was Beowulf.
2007.
Yeah. Like I said, I saw it once when it came out, and just because I'm a dumbass teenager, I was like, "Oh, Angelina Jolie's in this," and then did not register. Oh shit, it's animated.
I think I made that same mistake. I remember going to see it and thinking this looks weird, and then realized, it's a cartoon.
Yeah,
it wasn't advertised that well, admittedly.
No, but with that said, what I remember was I remember having a fun time with it. The fact that I think it was like PG-13 or like it was a more adult animated.
It's R. It's a pretty hard R.
Yeah, an R-rated Zemeckis film, which thanks to things like that and South Park, has sparked my love for more R-rated, cartoons, whether they be TV or movies or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it definitely deserves rewatch. But I do remember when I watched it, I had a fun time. It's a fantasy epic. It's based off a very well-known I want to say poem story.
Yeah.
And you could tell this was one of those. I know it's that weird period we kind of talk about. We did animated films, but you can tell Zemeckis' heart is in this. That the actors' heart is in this. Like they wanted to tell this story, and it shows in the final product. So yeah, Beowulf.
I love it. And you took down the animated gauntlet. That's great.
Yeah, you really did. You got his best picture winner in the animated gauntlet. I actually, what's funny about Beowulf is I was just listening to this podcast this past week, which is probably the coolest thing that I watched or listened to the whole week. It was this 1987 movie draft with this podcast called The Big Picture. And so that's Sean Fennessy, Amanda Dobbins, and Chris Ryan from The Ringer. They had on fucking Roger Avery and Quentin Tarantino to do a 1987 draft. Roger Avery wrote the screenplay. for Beowulf. And
Shit.
he talked about that a little bit. He talked about some like the things that different people he's worked with, and he had really nice things to say about Zemeckis, just as a a coworker, a guy you're kind of making stuff with. So that's interesting. I need to rewatch Beowulf. I don't think I've seen it since probably 2007 or 2008. That feels like ages ago.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I put it in the book. I think that would make an epic filmgasm. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be
I,
cool. Yeah.
I remember when I was watching and going, why is this film getting so dark? Like this film, I just remember it was like they advertised it, but I don't think they really advertised what it was. So like I remember watching it as a kid going, am I allowed to watch this? Like what's going on in this movie?
The second Grendel ate somebody's head, I remember thinking like, okay, this is a lot.
This is what's funny is it's sandwiched too. It's like sandwiched between Polar Express and Christmas Carol. Like he did this in between.
Yeah, like if you saw the Polar Express and then thought, oh, he's adapting this old, like epic poem, probably going to be like a Hercules kind of movie, and then you take your kids to see it and they have nightmares forever. That probably happened a lot.
Probably, except me, of course. I'm just like, oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. That's one I want to watch again too. Yeah.
Any movies here that you feel like Caleb, you said that's the last one that you've seen. So Connor's Used Cars probably the next in line for you.
Yeah, if I had 5 picks, I'd grab Used Cars.
Yeah, and I'd probably go Contact or Allied, one of those.
I will say what we talked about. I really want to see Death Becomes Her. That's been one that's been high
up
this radar to watch.
So good. Connor, I think you just gave me a copy of that not that long ago. Pretty sure
I did. I bought a Blu-ray collector's edition from Shout Factory, and had a DVD. So I gave you the DVD. Yeah, it's also, I bought it in Vudu just because I want it there too.
Yeah, I'm one of those freaks who still loves DVDs. I'm not like I'm like lower class when it comes to like watching movies. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I buy tons of DVDs too. For me, it depends. Like if it's an all-time favorite of something I adore, I want the best possible quality of it, and that's just me.
That's fair. Yeah.
I usually try to stay like current. So like right now, like, whenever Halloween Ends comes out, on sometime next year or whatever on Blu-ray and 4K, I'll pick up the 4K, but I'm not like I told Con, I don't rush to like replace my damn collection. I'm not fucking doing that. I was like, not happening. But like if it's like an all-time favorite of mine, I have made that upgrade. Halloween I have upgraded to 4K. I've upgraded American Werewolf to 4K. So I have done it with films that like I adore, that I just love to watch, and I'm like, I wanted the best possible quality.
Yeah, because if you're going to rewatch it, like a Halloween, you're gonna watch it like at least once a year. You might as well have like a good version of it. I'm definitely I'm not as what's the word? As I don't do that like you guys do. I've always respected that about you guys, is that like every Halloween, no matter what, you're like, I'm watching this gauntlet of movies. I'm more like, there's probably like 3 or 4 that I watch every year. But most of the time I'm trying to watch something either new that I haven't seen, like a horror movie in October that I'm like, oh, I want to knock out stuff I haven't seen. And like for Christmas, same thing. I also am just not a huge Christmas person, so I differ from you there, Caleb. but I'm not as like, I don't have like that calendar that you guys do, and I've always been kind of like, I'm just not that kind of person. It has a lot to do with me watching a ton of sports at that time too, and the fall winter. I'm watching a lot of basketball, football, soccer, hockey. I'm just like just so consuming too much sports, but I've always loved that. So like I don't really have those in my life where it's like, oh, I'm gonna rewatch this a lot. I should have the best version. For me, Blu-rays are like, is it $5 at Walmart? Let's fucking snag it.
Fair enough.
I want to quickly, Christmas. I love the spirit of Christmas. I love the spirit. I do. I don't like how we've commercialized into being obsessed with and stuff like that. I love the spirit. I love the idea of, let's put our differences aside and just be thankful for what we have and enjoy this. that part I love. I don't like the commercialization that we've done with Christmas.
Yeah, of course.
All
Yeah.
that stuff. I'm not one to go do all the crazy Catholic church shit on Christmas. I don't care. Just I want the spirit. I want the food. I fucking love the food.
Yeah. Food is usually good in November, December. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't like God and I don't like capitalism, so I make my own traditions. That's how my family's always operated. We have our own Christmas stuff we do every year. We got movies we watch. We got, the Polar Express thing. We do, cookies and shit. And that's just, Christmas to me means family. So that's how I've always done it. I've never, I don't care.
No, I know.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was like, don't get me wrong. I have nothing against gift giving. Nothing against it. So don't get. It is fun, just not my focus.
Yeah. No,
exactly.
I'm just like I'm the same way. Like I enjoy watching fucking Die Hard around Christmas and Batman Returns, and and like doing that whole bit, or like, oh, like here's this cool record. This person would like this. I'll buy it for them. That's great. I like the commercialization thing bothers the shit out of me. And I work at a grocery store where like people are coming in like fucking, it's World War III, So I can't stand that part of it. We also, Connor, we worked at that movie theater. People just people have this fucking, they like don't have the spirit. Some of these people that are like, it's Christmas time. They have this, where's my chips and queso? They have that kind of attitude of like, why do you care so much? Like, why can't you just enjoy, like you guys said, the things y'all are pointing out are great, but most people don't actually cherish those. And so it's other people that bother me, not so much my own family or like how I do it with my now wife and my daughter. Like we have fun, and I'm grateful for that. But the other fuckers out there, man, the people who fight over PS5s, like just fuck you, like it's just really frustrating.
To quote the great comedian Dan Cummins, I try to have faith in humanity, and then I run into humans, and it gets tricky.
Especially around, Black Friday and Christmas, and like those things are like, oh my word, like it's not that big of a deal. No. Your little Bobby will get his PS5 when he needs to have one. All right, like it's gonna be okay. Yeah, it's gonna be okay. And you don't. Most of these fuckers, they buy it. These parents, they buy it so that they can put a fucking picture on Instagram of like, look what a good parent I am. Like, that's not what parenting is. Like, you're crazy. It's all that stuff that bothers the hell out of me. And I love when movies make fun of that. That's like one of my favorite things about Christmas movies is when they kind of attack that part of it, the capitalistic side of it.
Like the opening of Krampus. If you guys have seen Krampus, like that opening shot is hilarious.
Yes, exactly. Like that awareness is cool to me. Yeah.
Nothing beats Arnold Schwarzenegger and his hunt for the Turbo Man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
best
shit.
Anti-capitalist Christmas movie ever.
I love Jingle All the Way. Such a good goddamn movie.
Yeah, that would be a cool Filmgazm to do.
I've been thinking about our Christmas lineup, and that has come up quite a lot. So
yeah, there's so many Filmgazm options, especially since we've like strayed away from doing pure horror. It's like you can kind of do whatever you want.
It's anything goes. Yeah, I don't care.
That's how I adopted it. I adopted that for Beyond the Bad's Christmas lineup. I think I put a little bit of everything. There's horror in there. There's some family stuff. There's some comedy. I tried to put a little of everything in there.
Perfect. That's exactly how it should be, man. Just genres there's too much fun out there to not represent all of it. All right. Whoa. I love the Christmas tangent we went on. Let's I'll recap here our kind of our little Zemeckis squads that we've built. Caleb, you have Forrest Gump, Polar Express, A Christmas Carol, and Beowulf. It's just so awesome. Connor, you have Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, and Death Becomes Her. It's a strong group. And I chose Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Flight, Castaway, and Romancing the Stone. I like these 12 movies. I would watch any of these 12, I think, just because they're well done, well made, and they usually have something to take away from it. So I like our picks here. Connor, I'm sure you're giddy as can be that you got all your babies.
I didn't think that was going to happen in the slightest. As soon as you said Caleb was first, I'm like, he's going to fucking take it away from me. But he didn't.
It crossed my mind. I was like, should I do this to him? But with that said, I am glad I picked the right pick because I was not expecting to surprise you guys so much with my picks. I think every single pick surprised the living shit out of y'all.
Yeah, yes, yeah. We gotta see. I knew Gump was gonna get taken. I just thought for sure 1 and 2 were gonna be for Roger Rabbit and Back to the Future in some order. I honestly I thought I was gonna get Forrest Gump on the back end. I was like, oh, maybe I'll be able to take Forrest Gump here as like a 1-2 with Flight or something. But no, I ended up with Roger Rabbit, which I'm totally happy with. Great movie.
I tend to surprise put my loves outside of horror. I've noticed quite a bit. They're like, you like
Yeah.
that? I'm like, yeah, I love that movie.
It's like one of those, hardcore like biker Hell's Angels dudes who then you find out is like part of that, like protecting kids from abuse gang. It's like that's kind of what happened here. It's like, oh, there's a heart.
Yeah. And they're like they like go to the jukebox in the bar and they turn on like Celine Dion. You're like, what? What?
People have layers. People are onions.
I'm
cultured.
Onions have layers.
Yeah, exactly. Shrek, another movie we've done on this show that was a lot of fun. All right, well, let's talk more about Roger Rabbit. It's 1988 fucking classic, a technical marvel, if you will. One of the more impressive combinations of two very different genres. Obviously the animated kind of slapstick comedy with film noir, real people. That's like my favorite aspect of it, is just kind of the mashup that we get, and the execution is just as good. So we've got a good one in our hands here. Caleb, it seems like whenever you come on the show, we do a great movie. There's no like fluff when it comes to Caleb being on Oscar Sunday. So I do think to properly get into these, this movie, we have to go into the awards, talk about what we love about it, talk about our favorite scenes, our favorite characters. So we'll do the Quentin Tarantino Award for the best quote, the Ennio Morricone Award for the best music moment. There's a lot. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for the best performance, which is a very, very interesting conversation. I can't wait to see where we go with that. And then finally, the Roger Deakins Award for the best scene of the movie. So, Caleb, we'll let you start with your Tarantino whenever you're ready.
All right. First, thank you for that compliment about
yeah.
oh man, hopefully that, let's knock on wood and not have that fuck up anytime soon.
Straight bangers. Yeah. Well, what you need to do is come on to an episode where you haven't seen the movie yet, and you're like going in totally blind, and you're like, oh, I didn't like this.
Yeah, I just make it to be on the bad episode.
just fuck it up. Yeah, that would be great.
Oh god, that's actually kind of tempting. But with that, my best line, I actually did was kind of like a throwaway line because it made me laugh, and then I started thinking about it. I don't know why the line got in my head the way it did. I was like, the implications in actual Hollywood. I doubt this was Mexico's intentions, but I took it as that. And that's when Dumbo pops up in the window.
Yeah,
the movie producer is like, best part is they work for peanuts, and he just throws the peanuts out at him. That's the line I put because, like, one, it's funny, but two, it's like if this is what they were going for, and that attack on like old school producers, I even shouldn't say old school, recent producers, thanks to the whole Me Too movement and stuff not too long ago, and how they view actors, and especially in this regard, especially back then when it was like the studio system and you had contracts with the studio and all that stuff, and how for them they weren't just they were just cattle, you know what I mean? Like, like Connor, you make the joke all the time, right? Act for me, you sheep, or whatever you call it, you monkey.
Dance for me, monkey, dance. Yeah, I think I said that.
That's how they were back then with these guys. Like, and not taking anything away from Hitchcock. Like, I love Hitchcock. I have a collection. I can't wait to one day actually take away time to dig through. But it's well known, he wasn't always the best with his actors. He very much viewed them as like, you do what I say because you're the actor. You just do what I say. And so that's why I went with the line, was like, yeah, it's funny for me, but then like it just made me get in my head, start thinking like, I wonder if he was making some kind of quick little funny remark on how it used to be, right? Back when it was the studio system. To an extent, now luckily the Me Too movement kind of helps with a lot of that stuff. Actors having a lot more say and whatnot. But yeah, that's my line. That's a quote I put.
I love that. That's such a great scene because we're kind of getting introduced to this world and how this is a Disney Warner Brothers mashup, and you're like,
Yeah.
is that fucking Dumbo? Yeah, like it's just such a cool moment. When you're a kid, you're like, the fuck is happening? You know, like you don't quite grasp what this means. So I think as you get older, you're like the kind of layers that scene has and that bit of dialogue has. It's a good pick.
Yeah. Well, I like how he starts it out with, I got him on loan from Disney.
Yeah,
Because that is
yeah.
how they used to work. Like, Montgomery Clift is owned by MGM, but, Universal was able to rent him for this production. Like, that's how it used to work. You were under contract for a studio.
And wouldn't that be so fascinating now? If I mean, obviously it's not, I don't want that to happen, but it would be fascinating if it were more like sports where HBO Max is like, hey, Timothy Chalamet, we just signed you for 10 years. Dance for me.
If it worked that way, Disney would own fucking everybody.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, Brad Pitt, we're gonna pay you, $30 million a year. All you have to do is make one movie every 2 years. Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, that's how actors found out they got work? Like, Brad Pitt gets a letter in the mail. Suddenly, he's the new Captain America.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in it. He's like, but I don't want to be in this movie. Oh, did you say no to this movie? Did you not remember the contract you signed for this?
You didn't read the fine print
contract. Do we have to get some lawyers involved?
Yeah.
We're Disney, right?
Yeah.
I always assume, thanks to South Park, that's my version of Disney. It's their take on Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right. Brilliant. I've been thinking about that a lot recently, though. With these giant, massive streaming services, what if they all had contracts to give out like a certain amount of money on their payroll, and they're like, "Hey, Zendaya, you're popular. Come over here. You're gonna be with us for the next 15 fucking years until you're 40. And this is what you're doing." That would be crazy.
I'm so glad it doesn't work that way. I mean,
it never could anymore. Yeah.
God.
Fun to think about. Fun to think about, though.
Yeah.
Because what the only reason it's fun to think about is which people, like, say the actors had some sort of freedom, like had choice with this, like people do in sports. Like, if LeBron James wants to go to the Lakers, he's gonna go to the Lakers. He can sign for less money if he wants to, or more money. It's sometimes it's their decision. As athletes, you get to kind of choose where you go if you're a free agent. Like, if Leonardo DiCaprio was like, I don't want to work for fucking Disney. I want to work for Hulu. Like, that's what I would rather do for less money. That would be fascinating, because then you'd have people teaming up, like actors being like, I want to work with that guy for the next 8 years. I'm going to go over here. So like Pitt and Leo would be like, let's fucking do this, man. Like let's knock out 4 movies in the next 10 years. And like, that'll be part of our legacy. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. It's makes you wonder who the MVPs would be. Who'd be the guys where raking in box office dollars where they could make those decisions, and who'd be the guys who are kicked out of Hollywood because they're not making hits.
Exactly. Like, obviously Tom Cruise would be a sought after guy, because like, hey, he only has 10 years left of really making great shit. What do you think? I mean, he's already 60. So like, Top Gun Maverick was super successful. If Hulu was like, that's our movie, that's our guy, that'd be a big fucking deal.
Well, in this universe, like, take Adam Sandler, for example. Would he even have enough clout to do a movie like Uncut Gems, or would he have been like just out on his ass by the time that came out because he hadn't had a substantial hit in long enough?
And you brought up Austin with the age thing. That's one of the cons to it, is that back then, if you hit, especially if you were female, when you hit a certain age, they didn't bother to renew your contract. You were done for them. They were done with you. People didn't want to see you with their eyes. So and they did it to men, just not as much, and usually much later in their life.
Yeah.
So that's really fascinating stuff when you look into like the history of people like Boris Karloff, Mila Lugosi, and their troubled histories in Hollywood and stuff like that. But that is one next that then it's going to the ageism thing of like, you're only good to us for a certain amount of years, and then we're done with you. You're cut off.
Yeah, fascinating, man. I love thinking about stuff like that, like the old way. If it were that way with streaming services and our current actors and actresses, it's not going to happen. But it's an interesting thought process.
Yeah, all that from Dumbo. Good pick, Caleb.
Yeah, excellent pick.
I'm coming in hot and heavy today, boys.
Yeah, he's bringing the heat. He's bringing the fucking heat. So great. Connor, you're Tarantino.
I do have one honorable mention that made me laugh, just because of the implication. It's when Dolores catches Eddie with his pants down with Jessica Rabbit, and she goes, dabbling in watercolors, Eddie.
Yeah,
it's like
I love that.
People are fucking cartoons.
Yeah.
But my real line it actually comes from Roger Rabbit, and it's when they're hiding in the secret room at the bar, and he's explaining like how he could, these people are going to have his back because he made them laugh, and he says to Eddie, a laugh can be a very powerful thing. Sometimes in life, it's the only weapon we have.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, that's insightful. It's the ultimate defense mechanism. And I love that this film kind of uses that as a way to explain who these tunes are. They live to laugh. They live to entertain. There is no malice behind them at all. And everyone takes advantage of that. It's great. It really like adds another layer to this interesting dynamic that this world creates.
Yeah, super fascinating. That's a great pick. I love that scene. My Tarantino also comes from a part of that scene. I think it's one of my favorite parts of the movie for sure, and that resonated with me for sure. That awareness of comedy and like what it can kind of stand for. That it's not just this genre to kind of be like, you kind of like gloss over it. It's a serious thing that can mean a lot to people. It's a great screenplay. Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman. This is a strong screenplay adapted from the novel Who Censored Roger Rabbit. I want to read that.
I read it a couple years ago. It is nothing like the movie.
That's cool. I like
completely
that.
Different situation. There is no Judge Doom. Like they made up almost everything, but it is a very fascinating read. A lot less comedy, a lot more noir.
Cool. That sounds perfect. Right up my alley. So good picks, guys. This is good. I chose something that I thought was just really funny. Just really silly. A bit of dialogue between Mr. Eddie Valiant and Roger Rabbit when they're at the bar. When Roger Rabbit's about to get dipped, which is just the dip. Is so good. And Judge Doom is, Christopher Lloyd's amazing in that scene as he's kind of just stalking around the bar, like, I know I'm gonna find this fucker, and he does, and he's choking him and he's holding him out. And Eddie says, "Hey, Judge, doesn't a dying rabbit deserve a last request?" Roger says, "Yeah, nose plugs would be nice." And Eddie says, "I think you want a drink, so how about it, Judge?" "Well, why not? I don't mind prolonging the execution." Eddie says, "Happy trails." And Roger says, "No thanks, Eddie. I'm trying to cut down." Eddie says, "Drink the drink." Roger, "But I don't want the drink." He does want the drink. He does. "I don't." "You do." "I don't." "You do." "I don't." "You do." "I don't." "You do." "You don't." "I do." And then finally, he throws it back, "Listen, when I say I do, that means I do." Such a lovely bit of filmmaking right there. That is Zemeckis, like, to the core. It's just this silly, really entertaining, just kind of timeless. Like, this could be at any given moment in film history, and Zemeckis has a few glimpses of that through the 80s where you're like, man, this guy's just clearly on top of his craft and knows exactly what he's going to do. And I love that scene because, of course, Roger freaks out and, smoke goes everywhere, and he releases his, from Judge Doom's grasp. And it's a big scene. And Eddie, I love the weasels so much, and Eddie takes them all out. He's fighting them. It's a brilliant scene for showcasing the animation and then the live action. These two things are just seamless. When he's fighting the weasels, you're like, that looks like he's actually punching a fucking drawing. So it's really a brilliant scene. Like, it was competing for my Deacons.
Well, I love that that's, it's an obvious nod to the iconic, duck season, rabbit season gag from Looney Tunes. And
exactly
the same thing.
Yeah.
Rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season.
It's Zemeckis paying, homage to where this all came from, to the origins of, Looney Tunes, of wacky cartoons. And it's great. It's there's a lot of those throughout this movie, and that's one of the best.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff, and that never gets old. The back and forth comedic. If the timing's right, that never gets old for me.
Yeah.
No, it works in that Looney Tune cartoon, right? I mean, that Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd one is to this day probably one of the most well known skits they did, and it works just on Roger Rabbit. It's a great homage to that.
Yeah.
To that.
Yeah, my favorite like back and forth is in The Emperor's New Groove, when Pacha's two kids are going back and forth. It's such a funny, and like if you try to do it really fast, you can't. Like you can't do it. You're like, it's fucking crazy. And I just love that movie. It made me so happy as a kid and still does today. So I've always loved that kind of like back and forth. It's simple, it's easy. It's not trying to be some dry comedy that you have to like read through. You're just like, this is just funny. And sometimes I like that. Good old just original comedy.
Right. And usually what a good payoff, right? Like you had the great payoff in this one, you have the hilarious payoff in the Looney Tunes skit.
Yeah.
So it's like there's always a good payoff to like this back and forth thing they're doing.
Yeah, it's great. It's good stuff. So yeah, I thought that the Tarantino, there's a lot of ways to go, and I feel like we all kind of went our own way here. We got like a whole conversation about Hollywood out of Caleb's. Connor's is really interesting for what it like represents for the comedic genre, and I just chose something that's just funny. So good picks, guys. The Ennio Morricone Award for Best Music Moment. There's some good stuff here, and I had a real hard time. I actually just picked like an hour before we started recording. I watched this last night, and I was just kind of grappling with it, but I finally was like, yeah, that's my favorite bit. So, Caleb, Ennio Morricone, what do you got?
So I know I just said I'm bringing in like the heat, but this one's just a simple one, and it's always been that piano duel between Donald and Daffy Duck.
Classic.
There's just no other like music moment that like I'm not saying this movie has a lot of great moments of music, but this one is just you have two, of the most iconic, duck characters, as you said earlier, in the same scene, which if you look at the history, that's how they had to pull it off to get both parties happy. Same as why you see Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse in the same scene. It was just like, hey, instead of just because there was like so much time they wanted, so they just put them in the same scene to alleviate that. Same thing here. And it works wonderfully from like, the music they're playing to classic, Looney Tunes, Disney cartoon hijinks of now I'm going to shoot you because I don't like what you're doing and all these hijinks and shoot. And it's a great, fun little moment that it puts a smile on my face both times I've seen this movie.
Brilliant. Brilliant scene.
Yeah, it's a great moment. I mean, as a kid, you're like, it's Donald Duck and Daffy Duck. Like, can you even do this? And yeah, it's like, one of the first ambitious crossovers. And I love that. You get Daffy's iconic, this means war line. Yeah. I love the Marvin Acme's like, they never get to finish the act.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Great pick.
I love it. Connor, what do you got?
Mine is, I wrestled with this one because I love the score. It's very, 40s Hollywood kind of, sleazy. I love that. But there's so many great music moments. And I had to ultimately go with towards the end where Eddie gets Looney to distract the weasels. And he puts on the big merry-go-round thing and he does his little Looney Tunes, like, pratfall thing where he like drops bowling balls in his head and like trips on a banana peel. And he gets, Eddie gets his sense of humor back and he uses humor to disarm the situation, like literally. I always love that part. And Bob Hoskins just absolutely kills it in that scene. As Roger says, he's knocking him dead. It's so silly and so fun. I love when he like electrocutes himself in the lamp and he's just like, like that always makes me laugh.
Yeah. Hoskins is really, really going for it right there. It's completely out of left field.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Comes out of nowhere and then ends with a swift kick in the balls. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Especially because Hoskins plays it so straight throughout the movie. Still getting his comedy in when he can. I mean, the guy couldn't help it, thankfully. Yeah. But like really going for it in this scene, it does pay off wonderfully. It works great.
You believe Eddie Murphy said no to this? Like they wanted him for Valiant.
He made a lot of decisions that has led to how his career is going right now. So that's all I got. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. It's not, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I like Hoskins. I think you need like a straight, like a more serious actor for that character to kind of offset how wacky the rest of this movie is. And
No,
Hoskins
I
was
think
perfect. I can't imagine anyone else in that role.
Yeah, and it's the first thing you think about when you think of Hoskins is this. So like it works out great. It's like this kind of random pick but perfect pick. Like it's just everything aligned just so wonderfully.
It's a better choice than Super Mario Bros. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh shit!
No fucking kidding. Yeah. Good lord, what happened there? I chose a song as well. So we all kind of went with a pure music moment. Like you said, Connor, the score is solid. But the song that I chose plays twice. Once when we first go to Toontown, and, and then at the end of the film, Smile, Darn Ya Smile. Such a great track. And when you go to Toontown, you feel the same way Bob Hoskins does. You're like, get me the fuck out of here, because everyone, it's like flowers, just like just like so absurd and ridiculous, and definitely took a page out of the Wizard of Oz book there with all that kind of introduction to Toontown. I love when before he goes in there, he like grabs the gun and all the little bullets jump in, and I love that so much. So that going into Toontown, I feel like you need a wacky, ridiculous song to play, and that's what plays. And then when they finally, achieve what they achieve at the end of the movie, they sing it again, and it's like even more fucking characters singing it, and you're like, this is great. What a movie! Like sometimes this is what movies are for. Or just feel fucking good at the end. And while I love some, super fucking depraved, sad movies, I do like sometimes when they end on a high note, and that's what happens here.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I love the Toontown introduction, because like you're not really sure the first time you're watching this. You've heard about Toontown. It's been mentioned
for a while. It's like an hour in.
You see a glimpse of it in the background. One scene they show that little glimpse before Yosemite comes flying through.
Yeah.
Did you notice the engraved, like the message on the box of the cartoon gun? It said, thanks for helping me out of that jam, Yosemite Sam.
Yeah,
he gave him the cartoon gun.
So good.
Yeah, I love how Eddie's just the whole time like so over this, and he didn't want to be here, and he's so just annoyed he even has to go in. I love when he gets in the car crash and the birds are around his head. He's like slapping the birds, like get out of here.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, and that's just it's just brilliant stuff. Once you get to Toontown, this movie just gets flipped upside down, and it just gets better and better. So I definitely love that kind of like change of pace, and that song helps a lot. Just so fucking weird. You feel like you're on an acid trip. You're like, where are we going? So yeah, good stuff. I love those picks, but the score, I was just gonna look who composed this. Connor, do you know?
I have a feeling it's Alan Silvestri, because it sounds very similar to the Back to the Future score.
I think you're right.
Let's find out that. Roger Rabbit.
Riveting stuff whenever we have to look things up.
It is
Alan Silvestri. Yep,
you're right. Connor was right. And you know who's the cinematographer?
Dean Cundy. Back to the Future.
Your boy Dean Cundy. Dean Cundy is responsible for a lot of Connor's favorite movies. So I think I've always been fascinated by that.
Cundy was prolific.
Yeah, Halloween.
Oh, yeah,
that was him too.
Yep. I'll say Halloween, and then he just went on to do all sorts of great stuff. People forget Halloween, mostly because obviously John Carpenter's synth score, but Cundy played his part for that as well.
I think my favorite of his performances is a Jurassic Park. Like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? You're the guy who did that too. So clearly the guy, had some serious talent. He's still alive. He's quite old, but yeah, I mean, Hook, Death Becomes Her, Casper, Apollo 13. Like, this is just in the 90s. So like, what the fucking crazy.
Maybe as a kid, I just really liked the way this guy framed a shot.
Escape from New York, so him and John Carpenter, obviously The Thing. I mean, come on.
Well, I like to know that this guy apparently had good things with his directors. It sounds like, because he worked with John Carpenter a lot, he worked with Spielberg a lot. Like the guy was apparently very good to work with. And yeah, the dude knows how to light a shot, how to frame a shot. Like the guy's fucking stellar.
Yeah, I think Deacons has some competition here.
Yeah, well, yeah, but then you look at like what he's done, like in the 2000s, 2010s, and you're like, what happened? Like, why'd you start working like Jack and Jill? What are you doing? Why, like, why would you be like, yeah, it's gonna be a challenge, you know? I mean, again, he's older, so maybe he's like, fuck it, I don't give a shit, you know. I just want to go film some shit. But there's a lot of movies here from the past couple decades that are like, really? That's the guy who did Halloween and Jurassic Park?
That's
yeah.
probably his mindset. He's like, you know what? I did Halloween Jurassic Park. Fuck it.
Yeah, maybe him and Zemeckis are like, we don't give a shit what you guys think. We're gonna do what we want when we want in the 21st century because we gave you guys some of the best shit in the 20th century. So maybe that's it. I don't know, but I mean the amount of credits is what's most amazing about Dean Cundey. Just churning them out like 1981, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies just in that year. Like what the? Who does that?
Well, I mean, we see with his, you know, what he was doing. I mean, he knew what he was fucking doing. I mean, if you know, he's the guy who filmed Back to the Future, The Thing, Roger Rabbit. Like, I bet he felt fucking invincible. Like, why not?
Yeah, and his one Oscar nomination, which is just fucking silly, is Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Just one. That's insane.
I mean, we all know how Hollywood treated good old John Carpenter. So unfortunately, anything he did with Carpenter was going to get nominated. Hollywood has had a bone to pick with him for no goddamn reason.
You're telling me Jurassic Park didn't deserve a cinematography nomination?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I hate to say it, I get why he didn't get nominated for Carpenter stuff because unfortunately Hollywood had a weird beef with him. But like Spielberg stuff,
yeah,
it feels like Hollywood had such a beef with Carpenter, it extended to anyone who fucking worked with him.
Yeah.
It's, you know, Kurt Russell, Jamie Lee Curtis, nothing for them.
It's weird. It's really strange. And I know this isn't the episode of the podcast getting to that now, but it just always bugs me. I was like, you know, Carpenter's one of my favorite fucking directors.
Same, yeah.
But for him to get so shown like that, it's like, fuck you, Hollywood. But at the same time, like, man, until his last couple of films, that man churned out fucking hits. Heavy
gold,
just constant gold. The guy was a fucking director, an auteur, if you will.
Yeah. He's. I think all three of us. I think he's one of the guys we like unanimously just praise. You know, there's just not much bad we can say about the guy. So yeah, I've always wondered, like it would be really cool to live in a world where, for me, The Thing is at the top of that list of like how is that not more critically acclaimed when it comes to awards? I mean, of course I love Halloween. I love Assault on Precinct 13. I love, you know, a lot of his stuff, Escape from New York. But The Thing is like, it might not be my favorite movie of his, but it's like the most impressive. Like no one else can do that. Should have been up for Best Director. Should have been up for, you know, special effects. Should have been up for Kurt Russell, Best Actor. Should have been up for Best Picture. You know, should have been up for like 8 or 9 things. And that's just a damn shame that we're going to look back and be like, oh, you know, the 80s could have taken a really cool chance on him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here we are 40 years later, and apparently Fathom Events fucked up the screenings of The Thing. So 40 years later, still not getting the due when they do a anniversary screening, and they fuck it up. Luckily, Draft House. I know I talked about this on a different podcast, but basically a very famous director, Mick Garris, he's on a bunch of Stephen King adaptations, does his own podcast now. He went to it because he was the publicist. He did the behind the scenes footage for The Thing when they were making it. So he has a very close relationship with Carpenter. He was on set of that film every day. You know, he's very indebted to that movie. And he went to go see this anniversary screening. And apparently it was like they beamed it off like a DVR and then put it onto a screen. So it looked horrible, played horrible. Oof. And he put it on Twitter what happened. It blew up. They supposedly fixed their screening, and then the Alamo Draft House response saying, "Hey, we're going to show it, and we're going to show you how it should actually look on a theater screen." So Draft House swooped in and said, "Like, we're going to show you how the thing should actually look playing on the big screen."
Yeah.
And Austin and I are going to that next week.
Yeah. Next, a week from today, we'll be going to see The Thing. I cannot. I'm like, whew, I'm so excited for that. I'm more excited for that than like any movie that's coming out, like new movie that's coming out. I can't wait to see The Thing on the big screen. I haven't seen a Carpenter, a proper, old Carpenter film on the big screen yet. So I'm so jazzed. I can't fucking wait.
Thanks to Studio 666, I've seen Carpenter himself on the big screen.
There you
that
go.
Was lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen a couple. I've seen a couple. I try to, I sniff these out. And this will be just, more adventures.
If I was near like a Draft House type movie theater, I'd see things like this on the big screen, but I'm not. So I don't get these cool screenings anymore. I don't know a theater near me that does stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not, it's more rare than you think. Like the way that Draft House churns them out. Like it's not just like a once a year thing. It's like almost every week. Some Draft House in Texas is like, let's show old movies, and that's my favorite thing about that company is that they kind of stayed committed to that. Like it wasn't a false promise. It was like they're still doing it, and. I've seen plenty of stuff. Connor and I saw Jaws together. I've seen Lebowski there. I've seen random things here and there. Saw Heathers there, which was a lot of fun. Just I love that they're not like they don't like play favorites. They're like, we're just gonna show stuff that fans fucking love. They're like cult classics, and that's my favorite thing about it. So yeah, The Thing is just such a masterpiece that I love how Dean Cundy got us to here. That's fucking cool.
Oh yeah. He's the man.
Yeah, he's definitely one of, obviously one of our favorite cinematographers ever because of what he did through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So you gotta give him props. All right. This one's gonna be great. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award. We get to talk about who we think steals the show here, who gives the best performance. There's obviously different ways you can go. You could choose a vocal performance here. You could choose, we've talked about Hoskins quite a bit. I'm interested to see where you guys go. So Caleb, who'd you pick?
This was one of my tougher picks because it's just nothing but great performances, in this. But ultimately I went one I picked just because I love this actor a lot and everything he's done. I just love him in it. From Clue to the recent Nobody film, and that is Christopher Lloyd as Judge Doom. He brings it. He is such a great villain, and I'm not going to get into the end just yet with him.
Yeah,
I'll save that hint. But he's a great villain, terrifying when he gets to that scene, and it's funny because as a kid you're kind of like, man, that's a weird reasoning he has to have against the teams, but then you go like, oh no, now I get the subtleness of it, the genius of his evil plan. You know what I mean? It's almost like, let me take away this thing that children love, that your innocence and your childhood, take it away, rip it apart, so I can put all this road here and this freeway, which back then in the 40s was unheard of. And crush your hopes and dreams basically for American capitalism at its finest.
Yep. The freeway.
Yeah. Freeway. So yeah,
eight lanes. So good.
Restaurants that prepare rapidly prepared food. It's like
gas stations everywhere. Billboards and billboards as far as the eye can see. So good.
Even now, if you've been to Houston, Texas, 8 lanes is quaint. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Christopher Lloyd he is great. He's awesome in this movie. I what a fucking villain he is, especially if you're watching like Back to the Future or his role in Clue or even his badass turn to Nobody, which I wasn't expecting at his age, but he had his badass moment in Nobody. And I was like, oh yeah, Christopher Lloyd, you fucking get it. But yeah, I really like him in this.
Hell yeah. Connor, who'd you pick?
I also picked Christopher Lloyd.
Fuck yeah, so did I. Let's go. Yes.
Beautiful. Hat trick. Judge Doom is a monster, just an evil presence. He's I read that in the prep for the character, Zemeckis wanted to include that he's the guy who killed Bambi's mom. just to let him, just to get him a little bit more evil.
Oh, that's great.
But I adore the fact that Lloyd is so committed to this performance. He doesn't blink ever because the eyes of Judge Doom are fake. There's no need to blink. And he brought that to the character. So you're paying attention. He's just got his eyes wide open the whole time behind those dark sunglasses. And then when he goes full, reveal, it's like, oh shit, this is terrifying. And yeah, I love his commitment. I love how evil the guy is. And the plan is so just, it's so absurd. It's like he wants to make a highway.
Yeah.
God damn it. As a kid, I was like, oh my God, that's so evil. But as an adult, I'm like, oh, okay. So he's just, the baby boom. Okay.
Yeah. Businessman.
Yeah. It's going to happen with or without him.
What's that meme? Okay, boomer.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's cool that we all went Judge Doom. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was trying to be, what's the word? Just trying to be like, mysterious about it. But to me, it's not really close. He's like by far and away the best performance of the movie. Things you guys have already pointed out. Just a genius idea for a villain for a movie like this. And Christopher Lloyd, I don't think people just realize how special he is and how talented he is. His first acting role is Tabor in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah. And
I saw that when I was pretty young. One of my favorite books ever. And he's like immediately was one of my favorite guys because his eyes, like his eyes are just as like much of a tool as like Humphrey Bogart's are, they're like, there's something you can't get away from. So for this movie to use his eyes that way is such a cool thing because it's on the nose, but it's not, and it's like just original enough to be like, that's a genius choice, for this movie. It's great stuff. Whoever made that decision, if it was Zemeckis or whoever made that call, it's like such a great call. It might have been Christopher Lloyd, who's like, hey, I've got an idea, and at this point, he's like one of the character actors. They are the guy who just can do anything, can act fucking bananas, but also has this weird like grandpa vibe going on that you're like, I want this guy to like hang out with me and tell me stories,
Yeah.
He's even when he's playing Judge Doom, he has a way about him, the way he moves, the way he looks, the way he walks. I'm just always been like kind of enamored by him, and there's not many people who have the physicality that he has, where he can just walk across with his cane. He can just walk across a room, and you're like, that guy's presence is so known right now, and I love that about him. So I'm super happy we all chose him because I think he deserves it. I think other people are good in it. I think there's good vocal performances, but I just do not think we're talking about this movie the way we're talking about it without this good of a villain. And Caleb, I'll let this bleed into your Deacons, without this good of a payoff at the end. So just great stuff. So Caleb, what's your Roger Deakins award?
My Roger Deakins is 100% when Judge Doom reveals himself, and even his subsequent deaths. So that whole segment from reveal to death. Because all of a sudden, this film, which has been this great comedy with adult humor that fights over you as a kid, but then you become an adult, you're like, oh my God, I have a baby that just talked about his 3-year-old dingus for some reason in a damn children's movie. What the fuck? But it goes from that to horror in a goddamn second. Like the eyes, the way the eyes just look, and it's just like his voice starts to get higher in pitch, and he's jumping all around the thing, and he just becomes the true I'm supposed to say Dr. Doom. Fantastic Four is apparently on my mind thanks to Comic-Con. Judge Doom. But he just becomes like the real Judge Doom in that scene, right? He's the mask is off. He's now this is who I am. And then when you get to the part where Bob Hoskins gets the upper hand and he's in his dip, as they call it, and he's like that screaming he does, the whole like I'm melting and the high pitched screaming, it's horrifying. Like,
yeah,
this movie is fine for children. In all fairness, you got to be careful on this scene. This might be where the nightmares begin, is this whole segment right here. And you know what? I'm always, you guys know me as a horror fan, I'm a sucker for this. So I'm a sucker when a film says, let's just go horror real quick. Let's just see how far we can go in this children's movie.
This film forces kids to confront a lot of stuff, you know? I mean, with Jessica Rabbit, suddenly they're asking all sorts of new questions.
Yeah.
And then with Judge Doom, it's like, why am I scared of that man's red eyes?
Because they have daggers in them. Yeah. Oh man, such a brilliant finale to the movie too. Is that whole reveal? You kind of understand the twist now, and he's like, "I'm the one who killed your brother." And like all of that stuff is just so brilliant. And God, Christopher Lloyd is so good at yelling. He's so good at like screaming at people. Connor, remember that scene in One Flew Over where they're playing poker essentially, and he's like, "Play the game, Harding," and the other, because they're all insane in that movie, and Harding's like, "I am playing the game," and he keeps slapping. Christopher Lloyd keeps slapping in the back of the head. Play the game. Just trying to make him go even more insane, and like he's so perfect for that movie. So awesome. I'm so glad he got cast in that. Jack Nicholson, Danny DeVito. It's just such an awesome a collection of weirdos. I always think of now Roger Rabbit, One Flew Over, and Back to the Future for Christopher Lloyd. That's my kind of gauntlet for him.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I throw Clue in there.
Clue's great.
He's so good in Clue.
It's you and me, honey bunch.
That's got to be a Filmgazm, man. Clue would be a fun fucking Filmgazm.
Clue is a masterpiece. I love that movie to death. I would love to do that on the show.
Clue would be a fun movie to do with like 8 people where you're all like role playing like fucking, oh man.
I love if you watch that movie now, they just play every single ending. So if like you have no idea how that film was released, like let's watch Clue for the first time. You're like, did I just see this ending? Why am I seeing it again?
Yeah.
I'd also throw you guys ever see Dennis the Menace?
Oh yeah. Love Dennis the Menace. Yeah.
Switchblade Sam. Like he is so greasy gross in that movie. Ugh.
Good pick. Good call. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many credits that he has over time. The guy, I'm looking through him now. I mean, he's done so much work in TV as well. He just hasn't stopped since 75.
He did this movie with Michael Keaton called The Dream Team in I think the early 90s.
Yeah.
Where he's part of a group of insane of mental patients who get lost in the city, and his psychosis is he thinks he's a therapist. So he thinks he's the doctor, like leading the expedition, but he's one of the patients.
Yes, and that's 1989, so it's the same year as Back to the Future 2. Like, fuck off! This guy's so good. He's so good.
Sweet. My Deacons is exactly the same as Caleb's. It's Judge Doom's reveal. It's such an amazing scene that if you're watching it for the first time, it comes out of fucking nowhere, and it's so like, oh my god, it's one of the best plot twists of my childhood. Where I'm like, holy shit, he's a Toon and he's the one who killed Eddie's brother. It's like, what? And I love that it doesn't, that reveal doesn't come out of nowhere. Because earlier, Eddie's telling Roger about his brother's death, and he's like, I never caught him, but I remember that high-pitched squeal and the red eyes. I'll never forget that. And then you see the red eyes, and you're like, oh my God. It's great.
There's so much more, like, for someone who watches this for the first time, or if it has been a while, like it was for me, you forget how much incentive there is for Judge Doom towards Eddie. Like it's just such an interesting reveal with a lot of layers to it, and it like makes you want to know more about the brothers. You want to know about Eddie and his brother, and like what all happened there. And I am glad though that this movie has stayed where it's at. Stayed in 1988. They haven't made like 9 of them since. So they could have made a franchise out of this thing.
So
they were. Go ahead.
I'm about to say Zemeckis better have something in his goddamn will when he has this when it comes to these films.
Well, I know they were trying to get a sequel off the ground for the longest time, where it was going to be like Roger Rabbit in I think like Vietnam or something like that. Like it was going to be weird, like Toons at war, and yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. But a Valiant and Valiant prequel, I might see that.
Yeah, I would if it was like if it was made now and like you use different actors who are a little bit younger, like different younger Eddie. And, give it a little Chinatown feel. I can
A
watch
fully tuned Judge Doom without the costume, like evil. Like,
I'm-
what the hell does he look like out? Under the mask.
I'm surprised like Disney Plus, like they haven't done anything for Disney Plus yet. You know what I mean? Because they are announcing.
Yeah.
We got a National Treasure movie. There's a Percy not a movie. Show which should hopefully lead to me. I know we talked about that. Me and Carl talked about that earlier.
Well,
we got Percy Jackson show. Aragon got announced. Like I'm surprised they haven't.
Well, I think it's because Disney would also need Warner Brothers to sign off on that.
Ooh,
and that kind of cooperation does not happen today.
No, especially with the superhero stuff, because you have one company that has a super successful, mega successful, I should say, MCU, and the other one on the struggle bus with 2 fucking announcements at Comic-Con known as DC.
Yeah.
Sorry, it bugs me that that's what DC.
It's like,
MCU's
it's like
here's our slate.
It's like LeBron James going up to some, rookie basketball player who just like broke his leg last season, being like, "I need your help," and the guy being like, "Fuck you, you don't need my help." But
yeah,
it's just it's weird, but
probably not happening. Yeah,
and that's probably for the best.
With that said, all those Disney Plus shows I mentioned sound pretty awesome, and the Willow show. So I mean, hey, you know what? Side note: we still got good Disney Plus content on the way, apparently.
Yeah, it's fine.
We'll take what we can get, and it is neat for every now and again. Of course, like it's nice to like have ideas about, a prequel or whatever. Sometimes it's nice to just have this hour and 40-minute movie that is just a diamond that stays where it's at, and that's its lane.
That's how I feel about the horror film Trick or Treat. They've been talking about a sequel for years. They finally, the director says he's working on it, but at this point I'm like, man, just leave it. Like I adore that film. I love it to death. It's a perfect one and done. At this point, I stopped caring a long ass time ago. Just keep it at the one.
Yeah.
Isn't it incredibly fucked up that Judge Doom like intentionally developed like the only way to kill his own kind? Like, how fucked is that?
It's very, very evil. Yeah.
The runner-up scene I had was the one where he takes the damn shoe, the innocent shoe. It was an innocent tune, damn it.
No one stopped him.
Yeah, and just puts it in there, and I'm like, oh god, it's a horrifying scene. Yeah, no one stops him. He's just still talking as he's just doing it.
Caleb, do you know what I realized in that scene? The cop who goes to get Eddie, who's like, the rabbit cacked him last night. That guy, he's the guy who pisses off Darth Vader in the first Star Wars, and Vader chokes him at the table.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was him.
Crazy.
Unreal. I was like, I know that jawline, and I looked it up, and I'm like, that's fucking the guy who shit on Vader's religion at a meeting. You don't do that.
I know that jawline, man. I like how you were like, no guy in a mask is going to get past Connor because he knows the jawline.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I recognize jawlines. It's a thing. One of you ever becomes a vigilante, if I get a good look, I'll know it's you.
What if you didn't know? What if you like had no idea Jensen Ackles was in The Boys, and the first thing you see is him in the mask? Like, why does he look familiar? I know that jawline.
Yeah. What's your Deacons, Austin?
Could spot that jawline from a mile away. You'd be great. You'd be great for the Batman world because it seems like nobody knows who Batman is. And
I'd be the guy I'd be the conspiracy nut being like, it's Bruce Wayne's jawline. I know it is.
Or for Superman, you'd be like, guys, come on, the jawline.
Oh, that's great. my Deacons, I initially wrote down what you guys wrote down, and I wrote down essentially the showdown at the end, and because it has so much happening. It has the Bob Hoskins routine where he's dancing. The weasels are, they're going up to weasel heaven or hell. I don't know. And you have the reveal of Judge Doom. But as I thought about it more today, when I was at work, I was like, what is my Deacons? Like, what really stands out is just a kind of like a singular scene. And the opening to this movie is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. When we first see, they're doing the little bits, Baby Herman and Roger Rabbit. There's got these. They're clearly like it's like a cartoon show, and you're like, oh, this is nice. It's like a Tom and Jerry thing going on, and then we see that it's a film set essentially and a studio, and we see that they're upset with Roger because he doesn't know his lines. They're like, God damn it. what's wrong with you? You know, and you quickly are introduced to the world of animated and live action at once. And man, how is this possible in 1988? You know, that initial reaction I had last night while watching it, I even texted Connor. I was like, I forgot how this movie started and how it jumps right into that. It doesn't really like ease itself into it. It's just bam, like look how impressive this is. And that's my like favorite thing about this movie is the balls it has to do that over and over and over. It's not just like a here's a glimpse of this technology and this crazy, you know, special effects that we have going on. It's the whole film is animation versus live action constantly interacting with each other. And for that, if you don't love this movie, fine. If you don't love the story, fine. Whatever. That's your problem. But you have got to respect what this movie accomplished. And that's where I think the Oscars giving it a special achievement award, sometimes I think those are cheesy. I actually get it here. I actually understand it. I'm like, yeah, this movie deserved to be recognized for something outside of the categories, for what it did that no one else did at the time, or no one else did nearly as seamlessly. So that opening scene, man, when you have Baby Herman like super upset is so funny and also just jarring. You're like, I can't believe that this is happening in front of me right now. And this movie is over 30 years old. This is just bonkers to me.
That's the thing. It's like, this isn't the first time we'd seen this. You know, Mary Poppins did this.
Yeah.
But it had never looked this seamless. Like, you believe this is a world where humans and cartoons can coexist and like work together. It really believes like they're there hanging out. And it still looks like that today. It's never looked this good.
And
no,
for me, I think what helps this scene work is that it starts off like a cartoon.
Yeah.
It has the cartoon opening. It's very much like I'm sure like at times for watching the trailers or you watch the first time, you're like, what is it that people talk about with this movie? You know what I mean? You're like, it's a fucking cartoon. What's the deal, right? And then the moment you just hear cut in the background and this 3-year-old or whatever, this baby starts going, oh good, we're done with the damn scene, like starts cussing and is pissed off. You're like, what? And it just, like you said, it just throws you right into it. I think sometimes that's the best way with films. Like I as much as I like easing into it, this isn't a TV show, right? Where they can't afford to ease you in and take its time. You know, that's where TV comes in. This is a one and done film. You got to throw the audience into it and just, you know, have it make sense along the way. And that's what they do. So yeah, this opening scene's brilliant, from like having it start out like it's a stereotypical cartoon.
Yeah.
I'll lay that into like, oh no, it's like, this is a world where they're actually filming a cartoon like they are any other film, show, whatever.
Yeah. You know what's really cool is they made a few of these. They made a few Roger Rabbit and Baby Herman cartoons. And I remember I had on tape, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids when I was a kid. And there was a Roger Rabbit cartoon before the movie. And it was a different one. And I thought that was neat. And they're all on Disney Plus. Like, you can watch all the Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. So cool. I love that opening, man. Thought it was just brilliant. The way Roger Rabbit is following the producer, like as he's walking behind him, and you're like, that is just pure talent right there. That's amazing that we can do that with filmmaking. It's kind of that Hollywood magic. It's like every now and again you got to be like, I don't care how sleazy the industry is, this is fucking cool. Like this is why we do it. Why we watch over and over.
And another thing I like about it is, you know, as a horror fan, right? What's that age-old argument that you hear all the time? Practical versus CGI, blah, 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 blah. This is a case where I'm like, guys, when you want just practical, like, I'm going to tell you this, had they done this practical, it would have not looked good at all.
No.
And this is where you could say the argument for when CGI isn't necessarily when it can be done, because they had the money for it. I know they spent a very large chunk of their budget. If you actually look at the history, like, they spent more than they anticipated to make sure it looked good. But this is where, like, yeah, you could make a case for when, like, CGI done right and looks great pays off in dividends. Because even now in 2022, it still looks good. Like, this film to me, it's not aged one bit. It looks amazing still.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, Roger Rabbit, man, great stuff. And what's great is we're not quite done with it, because it did receive 6 nominations. So I want to go through those categories for sure and just kind of check them out and see what we think. What should we start with? Because it won three, so I want to save those for the end. Of course, it got that achievement award. I guess we could start with something like cinematography or what are the other two that it lost. I have a hard time believing it lost anything technical. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It lost art direction. We could do that.
Yeah, let's do art direction, sound, and then cinematography. Okay. So art direction. Let's see where we're at. This is so Wild Bunch. This is, of course, the ceremony where Rain Man won Best Picture. So I don't love that movie, but it's decent. It's not great. It's not one of the best picture winners ever, but it's also not bad. So I think Roger Rabbit's better.
Yeah.
Personally. Let's see. Art direction. Okay. Interesting group here. We have Dangerous Liaisons was the winner. Beaches, Rain Man, Tucker the Man in His Dream, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Only seen two of these, so I don't have a whole lot to say. But when in doubt, give it to Roger Rabbit.
Agreed. I've only seen Roger Rabbit, so
I've seen three of these. Tucker the Man in His Dream is a good movie. It's Jeff Bridges and the story of the guy who basically invented like every car safety feature and was just lambasted by the auto industry for daring to take them on. It's a great movie. But in terms of set design, Roger Rabbit, like by far. I mean, not just Toontown, but also, the Acme,
Yeah.
the Acme factory, Valiant's office, the bar, the red car, like RK Maroon's office. Like it all looks great and very timely and very inspired by, noir films. Like there's, Sam Spades all over this motherfucker. It's great. It looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't argue that, man. What's the movie on there of the other two that you want to see more?
I could probably do without Beaches. Dangerous Liaisons has always been intriguing to me. I've seen Cruel Intentions, which is like, 90s teen remake of that story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen Cruel Intentions mostly because I'm a college player. When I was watching Buffy in college, I was like watching that show for the first time. Somebody's like, "Oh, he realized how big my crush on Sarah Michelle Gellar was, like one of my original crushes." And he's like, "Have you seen Cruel Intentions?" I was like, "No." So he told me to watch it, and I did, and I was like, "Well,
yeah." If you ever wanted to hear Buffy say the phrase "I'll fuck your brains out," that's the movie to watch.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Cruel Intentions. You heard it here first.
Yep, I wanted to hear it. I heard it. I was quite a happy man.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, and Dangerous Liaisons is also a Best Picture nominee. So one day, Connor, we will be doing that. Let's see. Best Sound. It's an interesting group. We have Bird that won the award. It's understandable. It's a movie about music. Die Hard. Fuck yeah. Gorillas in the Mist, which is something I've always wanted to see because the poster just looks unfucking real. Mississippi Burning and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I've seen three of these. Out of those three, Die Hard, Mississippi Burning, and Roger Rabbit, I'd give it to Roger Rabbit. Again, just you got crazy things going on, and I imagine I imagine it being this like classic Hollywood, the kerplunk and like when boxes smash and all those things are happening to the nth degree during Roger Rabbit. So I always kind of tend to go with something like that where it seems a little more difficult.
Yeah, I bet the Foley artists are working overtime on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen, of these films, Roger Rabbit and Die Hard. And Die Hard's awesome, but Roger Rabbit is way more of a technical achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I've only seen Die Hard myself out of this, other than Roger Rabbit, and yeah, I give it to Roger Rabbit. It is tough because Die Hard. I mean, they're doing a lot with their sound. I mean, it's an action film. Action films inherently you do a lot with sound for what they are. Actually, I would argue any like genre type film, like action, a family film like this, or even like horror films, like sound is important. One of the top things they have to make sure they got down.
Yeah.
But with that, yeah, I'd still give it to Roger Rabbit just because I think they're working more harder in the sound department more than Die Hard. Not the Die Hard slouching by any means.
Yeah, fucking hell. That's a a classic and definitely a movie that I see kind of on equal playing field as Roger Rabbit. Both of them I like a lot. So that's a cool matchup. Best cinematography. Here's a group. We have Mississippi Burning, the winner. Rain Man, Tequila Sunrise, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This is a cool group. Connor, there's Conrad L. Hall, a guy we talked about not too long ago.
Yes, indeed. That's such an odd group of films. I've only seen Roger Rabbit from that bunch, and I gotta say, like, what this film had to accomplish with cinematography is remarkable.
You've seen Rain Man, right?
Fuck yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have seen Rain Man.
You're good. I was just like, I thought we just said that.
Yeah, that's my bad. It's late.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would give this to Roger Rabbit 100% because, Dean Cundey had to, frame this around animation shots that aren't there yet. So he had to make sure this looked good for stuff they were gonna put in later, and that cannot have been easy. So I think he was working, overtime for this. So I would give it to him.
Yeah,
totally fair.
Backing Connor up on that. Only seen Roger Rabbit. Same thing he said. Cundey's working extra hard to frame shots, light shots for something that isn't there yet. It won't be there till post.
Yeah.
And also just because we just talked about it, God damn it, Oscars showed Dean Cundey some goddamn love.
Yeah. Dean Cundey's only nomination. Let's give him a win. Come on.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. But Mississippi Burning is a classic cinematography winner. It's very impressive. Great landscapes going on, kind of a lot of natural lighting. So I get it. I understand they're capturing Mississippi in 1964. So it is an impressive film on that standpoint. But again, I also would go Roger Rabbit here. Obviously, not going Rain Man here. I don't think Rain Man's anything special on that front. I think it's a pretty average film when it comes to just how it looks. So I don't really understand that.
Anytime I see the Oscars nominate like a drama in the best cinematography category, I'm like, why? I'm like, nothing against like dramas, but in like cinematography, it's like stock standard plain ass cinematography. Like just nothing special about it.
Yep.
Well, okay. I guess drama. My only response to that would be my favorite cinematographer ever, Emmanuel Lubezki, does a lot of Children of Men and different movies like that. The Revenant, Birdman. I do think. I mean, he's not doing anything crazy. He's using what he has in front of him. He like always uses natural lighting. For me, I prefer that to typically I prefer that how a movie that's the way I want a movie to look. Like something on like 35 millimeter that just is really raw and you can tell that is just a camera and a landscape or people talking in a room. I do think there's an art to that, but I agree with you for like giving an award out. Yeah. I do think you should go to the person who tried harder. So I get what you're saying.
I will give you that guy because Birdman, The Revenant, what was the one you said?
Children of Men.
First off, all great films.
Yeah.
Second off, what he does to work with the director for the Revenant and Birdman to make it look, especially Birdman, to make it look like one take continuously. Impressive. Yeah. The shots they're pulling off in Revenant, impressive. God damn it, the third film that
Children of Men. Yeah.
Children of Men. Dude, I don't know why. I love that movie. I don't know why I keep forgetting it.
It's so good, yeah.
The numerous one takes, like the one with the car and the Raiders are coming out to attack them.
Yeah.
And then obviously when they get to the war-torn city, he's trying to get into the damn building. Like he is doing really cool shit and to make it look good. So that I understand. I just mean like your standard, like we were talking, like you're just your standard, like speech type of dramas where I'm like, what are you doing? Like
your Oscar baits, like Rain Man, Spider House Rules, these films that are just like filmed with nothing special behind it. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
totally get that. I do. Yeah, I think like Emmanuel Lubezki is a guy who's like, let me take that and fuck it up. Like I will show you how to be athletic behind a camera. I'll show you fuckers how to do it,
Yeah.
And he also has always worked with Alejandro Inarritu and Alfonso Cuarón, and he has like a really cool relationship with these guys who are typically Spanish speaking directors and he has a really cool relationship with them, and they obviously have like an awesome work partnership. The same way Dean Cundey does with these guys, these guys we've been talking about, Carpenter and Spielberg, and Zemeckis. So I always love that when a director and cinematographer are on the exact same page. It seems like those are my favorite movies, or when the vision for the director is exactly like how that cameraman is like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. Or Deakins with the Coen brothers, like, fuck yeah, like they obviously understand each other.
Yeah, it shows a good collaboration between what the director wants and then what the cinematographer or director of photography they want to be called.
Yeah,
and those can be achieved in that collaboration of like, okay, how do we pull this off in a way that we both like and still looks really good? So yeah, I would say a recent example as far as like cinematography is the 1917 is another one that I'm like, Roger Deakins
exactly
absolutely with that, like holy shit.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of cinematography I really look for when it comes to that. And when I hear some of these like winners, sometimes I'm like, really, you guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a frustrating category because it is like my favorite thing about movies is how it looks and how it was filmed and how did this actually, what were the decisions that were made. I feel like with Deakins, he like reads the director's mind. The director's like, I was thinking, and he's like, no, I already know. Like I got you, like you don't even have to fucking say it. I'm going to like use every ounce of my energy to make this movie look as cool as it possibly can. And 1917 is a great example of that, where without him, we don't have 1917. It's just not going to happen. So
Yeah.
I love guys like that are like have signature styles.
Yeah, I've heard some insane stories of like directors that have worked with the same cinematographer like over years that all like that, where they have a shorthand, they barely have to speak, they know how the other one works and what the other one wants, and they're just like barely even have to say anything. We just do it, and they're happy with it.
Yeah, so fucking cool. And yeah, that's like, to me, as time's gone on, I'm more fascinated by that kind of partnership than I am anything with movies, writing or acting. It's just like that. The vision behind something is so fascinating. So yeah, I really wish Roger Rabbit would have been rewarded for that partnership between Cundey and Zemeckis. And obviously, like Connor said, the difficulty of filming this while knowing they're going to be adding in animated fucking bunnies, and all kinds of crazy shit to your already filmed movie. Like that's got to be intense.
Toontown alone, like all you got is Bob Hoskins in a fucking studio.
Yeah,
green screen.
Yeah,
and you have to film it that
good point.
Toontown looks good.
Good point. Yeah, God, I love these conversations, guys. This is great. Let's see. Those are the three ones that lost. Now we can go to the winners: visual effects, sound effects, editing, and best film editing. What should we start with here?
How about film editing?
Film editing sounds good. And this award, typically, if you win it, I think it's about, there's been 94 of these ceremonies. I think like 70 something of them, if you win best film editing, you're also nominated for best picture. So like 70 out of the 94, something like that. I read that somewhere and I was like, and then the ones that don't get it are like some of my favorite movies that have ever been nominated. And Roger Rabbit is like, why was this not nominated for best picture? Like fucking hell. Like this is a totally different than anything that came out from this, from this ceremony, from this year. I really wish it was in that group. I think it deserves it. So it beat Die Hard, Gorillas in the Mist, Mississippi Burning, and Rain Man. So you have Mississippi Burning and Rain Man, both Best Picture nominees. Die Hard, which is probably the movie most people have seen from this ceremony, probably. I would say maybe that and Roger Rabbit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think so, yeah. They're both become staples to watch.
Yeah, both like classic late 80s movies. I would give this to Roger Rabbit, though. I would agree with this vote.
I would give this to Die Hard.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think, action movies are notoriously difficult to edit because of all, the special effects have to be timed perfectly. You have to get the right shot. You have to get Bruce Willis jumping off the building at the right moment. And that film, the way it's edited is, hops up the tension. Just as many times as you watch it, you still have that feeling of tension. And I think that's very important. So yeah, I would give this to Die Hard.
Good call. I like that. What do you think, Caleb?
God damn, I'm the tiebreaker on this one.
Sounds like it.
No, yeah, this is tough, because I'm not gonna go in my whole editing rant, but as you know, a good edit or a bad edit really does make or break your movie because you will not notice good edits, but you will notice a bad fucking edit.
Yeah.
And you will. You have Hugh Finn Roger Rabbit, where they're working around the fact that this is gonna be animated later, lots of some post. And it does flow very well. But, however, I'm going to have to agree with Connor on Die Hard. Action films are hard to, especially, and it doesn't matter if it's like the 80s type where they, quick cut everything, the Michael Bay, right? Type of where it's just cut, 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 cut. You have to do it in a way, like you were saying, that keeps that tension going. That obviously, when these actors punch, right, it's all fake, but you have to make that look real. Like they actually just punched that guy, that guy actually got shot, all that good stuff. You have to do that. And obviously the other hard part nowadays, thanks to the John Wick franchise, which, hey, thank God.
Yeah.
Now they have to actually like really hold those takes. So I'm sure that presents a whole new problem. But yeah, with action, you gotta, it's kind of like a good horror edit, right? You gotta keep that scare going, keep that suspense moving. And in action, you want to keep that excitement going, and you want to start building it and building it and building it till the very end of the movie. And Die Hard just does a wonderful job of that, just racking up the action all the way up to its conclusion.
For sure. Yeah, I can't argue that. And it goes to show like a movie like that should win something like film editing because it is one of many, many 80s action movies that stands the test of time and still like looks better and better as we move forward. So I get that argument. I think Roger Rabbit, again, I don't even know where you would begin with this. Begin with being on the the editing floor, and that's where my kind of admiration goes to it as well. Is like, how does this even? Where does your brain even go first? On all right, we have all this footage of these different things. We got to add, we got obviously our animated characters that are on screen, and making that all work. And there's specific decisions made in this movie that I just really respect. But that man, it looks like Die Hard and Roger Rabbit is just like a really cool possible like 1988 double feature that would be a lot of fun to kind of see like what was really good from the late 80s, like what's quality filmmaking.
One thing I didn't really think about with Roger Rabbit is that editing this movie must have been next to impossible because if I'm assuming the draw, like I don't know if this was edited pre or post animation. If it's post,
Yeah.
I mean, that's next to impossible. Like if you've got
right
a scene that looks better, but the animation isn't as tight and doesn't connect to the scene that follows, you're fucked.
yeah. Well, like when that bar scene when Hoskins is punching the weasels, I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you? I don't know. I don't even know how you would begin to. Like, it would hurt my head.
I'm still rooting for Die Hard, but I 100% get the win for Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
This isn't a case where I'm angry. Like,
correct. If
it was both... Die Hard or Roger Rabbit, I'd be like, God, those are yeah. If it was anything other than those two, I'd be like, what are we doing here? What's going on with this?
Hold on. Well,
yeah.
The only other movie I would like, and I'm being serious. The only other movie I would be like, I get it, is Scrooged, because there's some fucking crazy stuff happening in that movie, and it's still. I mean, when Connor and I saw it at the New Beverly this past December, I was like, this movie's pretty awesome, and like still, it looks 80s, but it's pretty amazing how they did everything with the way he's kind of going back. He's getting, you got these dead characters and whatnot. I think that movie's like so fascinating on a technical standpoint.
It's like we talked about when Pill talked about comedy and horror. Comedy relies so much on timing, and so Scrooge, you got to edit that to make sure those jokes land, especially like with Bill Murray's very dry humor.
Yeah.
You got to make sure it lands and you get the laugh, and then you're not lingering on too long, but you're not cutting the joke too short. Like, I totally get that with a comedy. They rely so heavily on the edit.
Yeah, for sure. That's, man, what a fascinating job that must be. And those are people that don't get recognized really at all. These people who end up editing the damn thing. And I really admire people. I've heard Tarantino is one of those directors who's like, I'm going to also help on that front because I know exactly what I want. I know where I want the cuts to be. So like that's a whole other added dimension to your vision, is being able to, of course you like filmed everything, but can you make it look exactly right for the audience? And such a unique talent.
Yeah, very true.
Love it. Love it. Well, these last two categories have the exact same 3 movies. So, best visual effects and best sound effects editing. Roger Rabbit won both. It beat Die Hard and Willow. Isn't that crazy?
Willow's a good one too. That's one of those films.
Willow. I like Willow. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, that's like My Blue Monkey. That is so we had it on VHS, right? And when it gets to the end scene, those weird monsters that attack the village scared the living shit out of me as a kid. Like I was into the movie, I was like, oh, this is fun. And then it's like the movie betrayed me when he got to that scene, and I got horrified and like literally to the point that my mom had to turn it off, and she like never watched it again around me because that's how scared I was. So yeah, that's God, Willow, Die Hard, and Roger Rabbit. Damn.
Yeah, 1988. It's a good year.
I have not seen Willow. I do have to. I
know. Didn't you buy it for me?
Yeah, because it's your daughter's name. It was more of a gag than anything else. I've never seen the movie.
Damn it. I thought it was like hey, this movie's actually pretty good, and it's your daughter's name. Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen it. You got to see it. You would like Willow.
I know I would. I have to. Yeah, I got to get on that. To me, Roger Rabbit takes both of these easily.
Oh, yeah. No, not even close for me. Yeah.
But I do think
kind of close.
I do Die Hard comes close.
Beetlejuice should be in the visual effects.
Good call. Beetlejuice, another heavy hitter from 1988.
Yeah.
What a year.
Yeah, great year.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm giving these both to Roger Rabbit, but I like, okay, so visual effects, Willow comes goddamn close. But then
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, for the sound effects one, Die Hard comes goddamn close because again, action films, sounds a key thing. So it's like, close, but I still give it to Roger Rabbit.
Well, the fact that Roger Rabbit won a special achievement award for the visual effects and then also visual effects, it's like everyone knew how groundbreaking this was, how impossible this was to do, and to it still looks incredible. It was on when we did I think it was it Ex Machina where we did our top 5 visual effects winners?
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit was in my list because like I've always loved just what this film was able to pull off. So I'm glad it was recognized.
You know what? When did we do that? Because we did Ex Machina, we did top 5 sci-fi movies from the 2010s.
Oh, shit,
when did we do visual effects winners?
What? When was that? I mean, God damn it. All right.
It wasn't that long ago. I know that.
Yeah, it was a pretty recent episode. Looking up all right, Oscar Sunday.
The riveting part to the podcast.
Yeah, I always love this. Yeah, we're just doing like personal fucking, looking back. 1988, man. It's a good year. You got movies we haven't talked about at all. Coming to America, Dead Ringers,
Jurassic Park. Play. It had to have been Jurassic Park.
It definitely was Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. This fucking Young Guns is this year. Frantic. Yes. Scrooge, The Great Outdoors.
Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Let's fucking go.
There's something for everybody.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Okay.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. All right. Cocktail. Let's fucking go.
Cocktail. We remember Cocktail.
Yeah, I know y'all do. That's why I brought it up. Oh, there's Halloween 4. There you go.
I was more happy with Killer Clowns. Actually, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah. I had to bring them all up. A Fish Called Wanda. They Live. Yeah, good fucking crazy year.
Yeah.
Okay, so Roger Rabbit should have been up for Best Picture, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Anything else?
Well, personally, I mean,
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Bob Hoskins still delivers a phenomenal performance. I would have had him up for Best Actor.
Okay. I can get down on that. These are some tough groups, though, my man. If you're putting Bob Hoskins up, you're either taking out Hoffman, Gene Hackman, Tom Hanks, Max von Sydow, or Edward James Olmos. Whew.
Tom Hanks in a heartbeat. I love Big, but honestly, I don't really get why he's here. For
Fair
Big.
enough. Fair enough. Because it's Tom Hanks. Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't have, not for Big. Plus, like,
Tom Hanks is better and funnier in The Burbs than he is in Big.
Yeah, 100%.
Plus, like, as much as I love Big, I have slight beef with the weird decision on the end to have him sleep with the woman, and then he goes back to being a kid. I'm like, that's so icky.
Yeah. Look me up in 10 years, eh? Kid I banged. Okay.
Yeah, fucking bizarre. I tell you what. What about screenplay?
Yeah, adapted. Well, I mean, I love the screenplay, but it's as an adapted screenplay, it ignores the book almost entirely. So, like, is it a well adapted screenplay? I don't know.
Interesting. Here's a question. In 1980, would you put The Shining up for best adapted screenplay?
No,
I would not.
Because it shies away from the book so much?
Yeah, because that's when you're adapting a source material, that's a factor. Like including the source material, crafting that into a screenplay, that's where adapted comes from. That's it's not yours. It's you're translating someone else's work.
Yeah, or you could look at it as, look what they did with this story. Like There Will Be Blood. Much different than Oil. They take their liberties with that story. And I think you're big. I think y'all are both big Stephen King fans. I'm sure you're like, hey, I'd love to see the movie where it's actually like The Shining.
Well,
but
we did in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean a Kubrick level movie, which ain't happening. I think I like when a filmmaker, writer, whoever it is that's doing the writing is like, I think I can make this my own, because ultimately what I'm seeing on the screen is really what matters for these awards for me. I don't know. That's just kind of where I stand.
I will say that I'll let I know Connor is much more when it comes to King. Like, they have to follow it to a T because it's already. And I get where he's coming from. I'll let him explain. Don't worry. But unlike that, I am honestly more of like, you can have your own spin. Like, the book's there, it exists. It's not going anywhere, unless Stephen King decides to not have it be published like Rage anymore.
Yeah.
So it's there. So as a filmmaker, as long as you get the heart of the story intact, I don't mind if you make your own changes and put your stamp on it. I'm actually cool with that, because at the end of the day, it is part of being an artist, having your own take on it, or still keeping the core story intact. But the only reason I say in the case of like The Shining War, that is a case where I want it, more so because it's a known fact that, things like the fact that, Kubrick said, I'm not adapting your thing, I don't believe in your paranormal bullshit. Like, to King's face. The fact that like the core of the story, like the heart's really not in there. Like, Jack, much different in the book than he is in the movie, like way different. Not that Jack Nicholson does a fucking great job, but and it's just like I've always said with that particular adaptation, is that I think it's a terrible Stephen King adaptation, but it's a fantastic, excellent Kubrick film.
Okay, that's fair. Totally fair.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Really, like my whole thing is it's pretty selfish. It's just, if I've read the book and I enjoyed the book, I want to see the book turned into a movie. That's really all it is. Like, I've never read Oil. I read Who Censored Roger Rabbit like 2 years ago. So it's not really, didn't come, I read The Shining years after I saw the movie. So it just doesn't factor in unless, I've got a personal investment in it. And that's where it comes from.
That's totally fair. So like, there may be winners that you haven't read the source material and it's way different and you just don't know. Yeah, I totally understand that, where it's like, this is something that I like.
Yeah.
I want it to be faithful because I liked the story. Totally get that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Now, like, Shawshank Redemption absolutely would fucking say best adapted screenplay nomination. Absolutely.
You know what beat it? I believe Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I think you're right.
For adapted screenplay.
Did it?
Yeah.
Shawshank should have won that one. But that's what I say. Like, I don't mind changes, and I know I give you a lot of shit, Connor, but I totally get where you're coming from.
You're my best friend. You're supposed to give me shit. It's what we do.
I know. It's what I do. But with that said, you selfish prick. I don't mind the changes, but yeah, like in the case of like, I'm very much of line with Connor when it comes to The Shining. It's just like Kubrick went in such a different direction with that film. I'm like, it's barely adapted. It is barely adapted.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally fair.
Mhm.
I like that. I like kind of the, what's the point of the category? I think that's a cool conversation. And you're right. Forrest Gump beat Shawshank Redemption. So what could have happened at this ceremony, to go back to, Forrest Gump? What could have happened is Pulp Fiction or Shawshank could have won Best Picture. Pulp Fiction won Best Original Screenplay, and Shawshank could have won Best Adapted. We could have had this amazing moment of, look at these two movies going toe to toe. Maybe in some circles and some, I think maybe with us, it's an argument at least. Maybe the two best movies from the 90s. It's that kind of a conversation, not just 94. You got Silence of the Lambs in there, I know. There's some heavy hitters, but you could make an argument for Shawshank and Pulp being like maybe the two most important movies from that decade, from like a cinephile standpoint. That's a cool thought, if they would have really gotten to go toe to toe, but they didn't, because Gump stole the show.
Well, I've often, said that I believe The Shawshank Redemption to be maybe the greatest film of all time. Like, not my favorite, one of my favorites, but in terms of, what that film has to offer, what it's, what it represents, what it means to people, it's perfect. So I believe, yeah, Shawshank's the best film of the 90s. I'll back that.
Yeah, that's Jurassic such a I love Jurassic Park as well.
It stands tall.
Yeah, I get that. Yep, not going to argue that one.
Yeah, I mean, there is, like, Connor, you brought up the conversation of what's your favorite, and then like what is the most important and the best. And sometimes they align. Sometimes you're like, hey, this is the best and I fucking love it. But there's also sometimes where you're like, my favorite might not be what's liked by everybody and should be liked by everybody. But Jurassic Park's a good one. Silence of the Lambs, Shawshank, Pulp. That's tough. Is there any from the late 90s? I mean, Goodfellas, 1990.
I'd argue the original Scream.
Oh, that's a good call. 1996 Scream.
Yep.
I mean, The Matrix is a big fucking deal. 1999.
Oh, yeah.
I love that we're having this conversation on a movie from 1988.
Yeah, we just Forrest Gump really stole some thunder here, and like created a. The show's over. The show's over. We've done everything we can for Roger Rabbit. We're just bullshitting at this point because we don't want to hang up. We want to keep hanging out, talking about movies.
Life is a box of chocolates. You never know where you're gonna get, Connor. Okay.
Straight up. Well,
this is what you got.
Yeah, you got a 90s conversation. And Connor, who doesn't like to talk about the 90s for a little bit,
I'm not complaining. I just find that funny.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, I'd argue because people love the 80s so much, and for good reason. 80s was a great decade for film. I like to argue that the 90s is incredibly underrated. We need to talk about 90s films more.
I agree.
I like the 90s better than the 80s. More personal favorites. Most of my favorite filmmakers were like coming into their own during that time, just because like my age. Like the Coens and Tarantino and Spike Lee and all those kind of guys. Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson, So yeah, I mean, that's 90s are great. It's like a hotbed for a lot of stuff I love.
Shawshank was the best one. Lebowski is my favorite one.
Yeah, there you go. Lebowski is definitely in my top 2 or 3 favorite movies from the 90s. Of course, mine's Magnolia, but that is not the best movie from that decade. Not even close. I get why people wouldn't enjoy that. Yeah, I love that. Love that conversation. But 1988 is a good year. I do think there's some heavy hitters, and I think it's a bit of an underrated year. When you look at it as a whole, there's a lot to offer. They're obviously getting closer to the 90s, where things are changing in the industry. And Roger Rabbit is one of those kind of bridge movies where it's like, look where we're going. I think of Jurassic Park in that way too. Like, look, it's kind of scary where we're headed, but it's also really cool. The CGI and what we can do with technology is obviously very freeing and can allow you to do amazing things, but it also can create stuff that is all computer generated. And I think a Roger Rabbit and a Jurassic Park, those bridge movies are just wicked important to talk about and give them their due, like we did today. This was a great episode. Had a lot of fun. little Zemeckis draft. That's always a good time. We got a big week coming up, though, guys. Big week. Wednesday, August 3rd, episode 200 of Filmgazm. This has been going on now for a long time, this podcast, obviously. And what better way than to, celebrate a film like Predator? I can't believe we haven't done this movie before already. So it feels right to do it for 200. Connor, I know you were thinking about a bunch of different ideas for episode 200, and I think it's cool that you landed on just a classic movie that fits the protocol, exactly. So can't wait to hear you guys talk about that.
Well, amazingly, it just happened that Prey comes out next week. So I just thought like, well, I don't want to go too crazy with it. So why not, do something that's firmly in like the show's roots and talk about a classic, horror sci-fi adventure and maybe the most macho film of all time in Predator, and just embrace that film for 200.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool as shit.
Oh, yeah. All you gotta say about Predator is Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yes. If you want more, come back on Wednesday. and then on Friday, episode 31, Wild Wild West. That's a film Beyond the Bad is going to tackle that I haven't seen in a long time. I remember liking this movie as a kid, but I probably think of it much differently if I watched it now.
Yeah. So
you both went, oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I remember seeing it as a kid and I liked it, but it never really stuck. If that tells you anything.
Yeah, like it came and went. Yeah.
Yeah. So, after getting out of my comfort zone for last week's episode, I thought, let's get back into it just for a bit and do something. Yeah, maybe bad. It's definitely up more on my alley. And, I wasn't trying to be timely with a certain actor in the film. Just how it kind of happened since someone gas on himself at the Oscars.
I couldn't fucking believe that the week we go back to, we go to Will Smith, he releases an apology video. How beautiful is that?
It's like he knew. He was like, oh, those fuckers are gonna talk about me, so take this, stick this in your pipe and smoke it. That really, and we were talking about film editing like 20 minutes ago. Talk about a poorly edited video of Will Smith apologizing. It's like, cut. I'm deeply remorseful. Cut. I made a mistake. Cut. It's like not even. It's like, did you just read off a cue card and then like do that every few minutes and release it? It was such a weird video, man.
Every time something like this happens, especially for like Beyond that, I'm like, God damn it! Like this couldn't happen any better. Wasn't my goal. I wasn't trying to time this with the fucking show, but here we are, and it's not going to save Will Smith from any possible bashing that happens in the episode. No one's safe on Beyond the Bad in these movies.
Yes, correct. Yeah, no, good. Just tear everybody apart. That's the goal.
Yes, unless you're part of my silver lining, then you get your praise.
No mercy. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I might rewatch that. I saw there was maybe a couple weeks ago. It was on, I think it was on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I like watched 5 minutes of it, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this with my Sunday. I think I'm going to do something else. So maybe now I'll actually rewatch it. It
is streaming on HBO Max, so that's where you can watch it if you want to watch along with us.
Is Predator on something right now?
It is on my Vudu.
What about?
I don't give a shit if they can see it. I want you guys to see it.
What if people want? What if the people want to know? The people want to know where Predator is. It's got to be on something.
I mean, I'm assuming since the new one's on Hulu, I'm assuming they're all on Hulu.
Yeah. Okay. If you're a physical media person, shout out to what I got. You know what? I'll even pull it out. I know they can't see it, but I'll show it.
Fucking see it. Yeah, let's see it.
There's this beautiful 4K set and Blu-ray. Don't worry, there's also a Blu-ray equivalent if you want to go cheaper. Out Gorgeous. That includes look at that, all of the movies, all the way up to the shitty last installment that will hopefully go away with the new one, and it includes poster cards with a quote from each film. The quote for the new one wasn't the best, but that's not important. Okay, that's not important.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
Yeah. So for you physical media guys, get on Amazon.com and you can fully own that on a for this Blu-ray or 4K. If you do the 4K, it has the Blu-rays also. I'm just saying.
This
There you
video,
go.
this podcast is not sponsored by Hulu's Prey. I just want to throw that out there.
Laying on pretty thick there. Pretty good. All right.
I should be a goddamn salesman now.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Lastly, I'm super excited. Nobody's listening at this point because we've gone for like 2.5 hours. Next week we're doing a movie I've been wanting to do ever since it came out, even before we had created this podcast. It's going to be just our second Quentin Tarantino film. The very first episode we ever did was, of course, Pulp Fiction. Now we're going to be doing 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Was up for some stuff at the 92nd Academy Awards, including a win for Mr. Brad Pitt, Best Supporting Actor. The reason we're doing this is because I love that movie. Connor loves that movie. But Brad Pitt's new movie, Bullet Train, is out next weekend, and that looks super exciting. So we want to kind of, throw some love towards Brad Pitt. I think one of the best actors we have right now. And looks like a guy that would just be super fun to hang out with. And I've always respected him. So we're going to be doing a top 5 Brad Pitt performances next week, while also talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I cannot wait. So follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Filmgazm, and keep fucking watching movies.